one, go.
Everybody, welcome back to
Welcome
another episode of Cowboy
to-
Bebop. Today we what?
What is that even from?
What?
Is that a reference? Or, like that felt like something.
Yeah, but it's I love it because it's easily the most obscure reference like anyone's made to something that's come out within the last 20 years. Because what it's a reference to is a Patreon exclusive episode of the Snark Tank. As in, only people who are subscribed to their Patreon would have ever heard that, which is probably like less than 1,000 people heard that before.
And the chances that any one of those would be watching our podcast is, in all fairness, not that low, right?
Well, I don't see how it could be high. I don't see.
No, it's not high, but it's not as astronomically impossible because at the bare minimum, they like listening to podcasts on YouTube at the very least, around that, right? Like, I mean, I think Snark Tank's like everything, isn't it? Because they're like an actual podcast, unlike ours.
Yeah, but they do video, so the YouTube version's the best. But the Patreon stuff is not video. The Patreon exclusive stuff's not video. They do a bonus episode every week, an hour long. I guess we would have to do something like that, wouldn't we? Eventually. And basically, they can't. They've decided on a name for it, except Chris Raygun has no. It's just strictly not adhering to the name, and it's giving it a different name every week. So 1 week it was Cowboy Bebop. This week it was like Cyberpunk spoiler cast. It's just random shit.
So, what are you a Patreon member then?
Yeah, £1 and £1 a month.
They're bankrupting you, Harry. It's daylight robbery.
The only reason it's only worth it for that, because it's not worth getting the early episodes. Don't listen to the early episodes; they don't have video attached to them. I have to wait for the YouTube. But the extra stuff's actually been really funny. Like last week was maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard. They did like it was like, you know, I don't know what you would call it. The comedic exercise, I guess, of like doing sales pitches, like trying to sell a fictional product as like as a character. They would like. The other two would give one person like a product and a character to sell the product as, and it just was ridiculous. Like selling it's like selling the Blue's Clues expanded universe as Bill Cosby, for example. What?
So, what would you say inspired you more to do this podcast then? Because obviously we both kind of wanted to do one, but would it be the Yog Pod or the Snark Tank? Do you think? Or a bit of both?
Neither.
Neither?
Mainly the Yog Pod, actually. When it comes to how I want these podcasts to come across. Unfortunately, the Yog Pods come across like really like haphazard, right? But that's because it's actually like stitched together from dozens of different recordings.
Isn't it just literally them talking or playing World of Warcraft, right?
No, I think it's like sort of before and after bits of them talking that sort of Lewis just stitched together to make pod, and that's why it always took so long, and that's why it was always so condensed and high quality, even though it seemed quite low effort. Like it seemed quite, you know, they were quite self-deprecating in that they didn't think it was very high quality programming, but it was also obviously incredibly hilarious, much like ourselves.
Yes, that is what we're known for. Being the funniest ever. We got a little trophy on our cabinet. I don't own a cabinet. Do you own a cabinet?
What even is a cabinet?
That's what I'm saying.
Isn't a cabinet just an open wardrobe?
Yeah, I think.
But also I've got a bookshelf.
I've got like a stool with a little drawer in it. Like it's a tiny little fucking bedside cabinet, which is so small that it wouldn't work for any bed. So I put it on top of my my fucking desk. That's the word I was looking for. And so I have like a little fucking bedside cabinet on top of my desk for more storage. Desk. I shut your mouth. Yeah, we're here today to do Harry's Reddit thing now because I did mine last week.
We need to do the taste test.
No, we don't.
It's a taste of your own medicine.
Oh, Did you have that Did you have that planned? Is that what you had to get that in there?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you managed to pull it off.
It's also not the first
expertly.
thing we're going to be talking about. Because because I don't see why we'd start with the big one.
All right.
You idiot. You fool. Although, obviously, there is a planned topic. But something came out of the blue today. I mean, it doesn't particularly excite me, but it is of interest. I don't know how they're really going to pull this off. But Ghost Ship have branched out into publishing.
Yeah.
Ghost Ship publishing.
God forbid they don't overwork themselves at all given moment. Yeah, I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, but it's who from Ghost Ship is going to be involved in the publish? Surely that means they're branching out. Surely, I mean, I know that Mikkel and Soren are involved because
they're CEOs. It's kind of inevitable.
CEO of Ghost Ship, so that includes Ghost Ship Publishing. But it's not like the programmers and the artists are going to go over to publishing. Either way, it seems like they're interested in getting other games off the ground in sort of a similar fashion. And I mean, it's not a lot to it yet. It's interesting though because I haven't actually seen this website before. I don't know if it's new, but they do actually explain a bit about their process. When it comes to publishing, they want to push open development, flexible design, and solid business. As all good publishers should. Hold on, what do they say? We started our own journey through early access and know the importance of finding your audience. Yeah, whatever. I do like what they said about flexible design, though. We love working with games that are endlessly expandable, have deep systems, and build their world through gameplay and interaction between players. I think that does apply to Deep Rock. Wait a minute, that's it. I felt like there was something else to this, but apparently I was wrong. Who's Alex Skronsky?
I don't know.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is the only reason I found this interesting, because there's this website, and it's got the full Ghost Ship Games staff there, of which there are 35 of them. They total at 35, the Ghost Ship crew, and that other guy who I just mentioned, Alex Skronsky, is new as the publishing manager.
Right,
or whatever.
so they're already hiring for that.
Yeah.
Another thing, though, and this isn't entirely relevant, but I just noticed it on the page. Ghost Ship is hiring for senior programmers and software developers.
Yeah.
Or just one. And that is interesting because does that mean they don't have a senior programmer? Or not many at the very least? Because that, I don't know.
I think they just want more manpower.
Yeah. And they want some fucking qualified manpower, by the way.
I highly doubt they don't have these because these are the most important fucking jobs.
Yeah. I think.
But I think honestly it's the most complicated. I have this really horrible just feeling in general about the world in our generation that none of us can be fucking bothered to do complicated jobs and actually learn complex skills like this. And they're just going to disappear eventually. And we rely on really high end, high production media just to keep ourselves afloat, basically. And yet no one seems to be interested in being capable of producing said media. I am, ever so slightly, but still, it's sort of worrying that those are the positions that are open. I don't think it means that they're, like I said, they must have them, because otherwise they wouldn't be getting anything done. Literally, the game wouldn't be getting made. But they have programmers and software developers. But it's weird that those are the vacancies, though. That's why I think it might not be vacancies and them just wanting more manpower.
And both of these are very clearly the pack mules of it. They're the coders, right? They're the people that make the game, right? Like that's what these ones are. And I mentioned this as well because I've never seen this stuff before, and this is kind of a weight off my shoulders slightly. They, when mentioning like what they give to you, basically in their work environment, no crunch. They do not believe in crunching, and they flexible work hours, stuff on that. And apparently you can work home on Fridays if you want. Basically, I finally don't have to worry about them, like us shitting on a crunched company. You know what I mean? That was always a worry in the back of my head that like they're like secretly crunching and that we're shitting on them. But now I can.
I would be more comfortable because if they're crunching, then I would be calling them more incompetent.
No, yeah.
No, I mean it's pretty clear to me that they weren't crunching ever anyway.
They never seemed like it. No, yeah. No. But now it's literally it's a thing they're advertising that we don't crunch. like not happening.
Because it's a balance of the both. I'm not like I don't view Ghost Ship as sort of like this. They're really trying to make waves in it. Well, maybe they are trying to make waves in the industry to some extent. But like I do actually see a pretty good. I wouldn't even say middle ground. I'd say they're probably more focused on just creating a good like place to work. But that's a good jumping off point for having a good game, like or having the game be worked on in a good way. I mean, as in it probably started off as more of a passion project, but now it's probably become Ghost Ship are probably just trying to be sort of like I guess vanguards of like very comfortable video game development. I don't know, like as in a good place to work, which is equally respectable and will benefit the game. Anyway.
And this is a slightly interesting thing. They will start looking at the applications at the 23rd of February.
No.
So that's when they're going to start hiring. Basically, like, what's that? Like, very close to their anniversary.
Is the anniversary? Well, is it the 25th or the 23rd? I don't know anymore.
23rd.
Let's meet in the middle and say 28th.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. Well, first of all, yeah. If you are a skilled programmer, that's like the bare minimum. Bare minimum, you have to have like 5 years of work experience, strong skills, technical knowledge, and a bachelor in computer science. Right, that's the lower tier software developer entrance, and the higher one, you have to literally have like released a game. And like other shit like that. Basically, if you're qualified as fuck and you want to work for Ghost Ship, you can. There's spaces opening.
Well, okay, 5+ years of work experience is actually quite a lot. But I mean, things like experience with C++ is you'd get that from doing a bachelor's in computer science, and a bachelor is like usually the first stage of university. That's like the initial degree. That's like any first degree is a bachelor's. So. Not you don't have to be. You don't have. You can probably get into Ghost Ship before you're 30. I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you want to work alongside Ghost Ship without having to meet those criterias, if you're making a game, you and your friends, or you and a small group, company, whatever, Ghost Ship might be willing to help you out, teach you stuff, and I just fund it. That's what publishing does as well, right? Like
that's the main thing. That's the main.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like that's not necessarily what they're interested in necessarily. They're not.
They want to help the Danish gaming industry and other small developers around the globe. So
around the globe,
if you're a Danish person and or peoples who's making a game, you're basically going to be like guaranteed Ghost Ship's like friendship, I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's
interesting
positioned to offer a publishing environment that get your game out there, seen, and correctly marketed. Well, I would say that Deep Rock sort of marketed itself over a long period of time, as in, I get
it was hella word of mouth.
Yeah,
it always has been.
I think their strength is actually being able to grow something over time, and honestly, I think patience that's what they used with the Deep Rock, and I think it worked. As in, they didn't really market it because they probably didn't have a marketing budget. Obviously, you can have a guy at the office make trailers, but you can only do so much. You can't pay for fucking
There's never been a Deep Rock ad at the beginning of like a game or something, right? Like you see, like Fortnite and that, all of those big games, they have ads fairly often.
But
then
Fortnite's the
even
kind of game that will get
ones,
ads everywhere. In every place that you could get an ad.
yeah, but then even like small games, like proper small games, will get ads like that because they need people to see them, and they'll like slip in ads in like the wiki one. I think the wiki has a lot of like small game ads on it. Not to mention like YouTube. Sometimes you'll just see like random fucking games that just like advertise themselves for a little bit. But I've never seen fucking Deep Rock on any of that. So it literally like we only know about Deep Rock because Yogscast made a video on it, and we only we know about Yogscast because it's still fucking Yogscast. But like, it's you really have to stumble across someone that knows about it. You never just find it yourself, really. Like, unless
whatever they did,
look at like the best games out right now.
Whatever they did worked. It just worked over time, and patience is a virtue. Good things come to those who wait, is what they say. Other sayings. Patience is a virtue. Did we say that one?
Yes, we did. But basically, if you make games, if you're heavily qualified, you could maybe straight up join them yourself. If you're less so, but you still want to make games anyway and work alongside Ghost Ship, they're doing partnerships now. So good luck. I mean, it makes me wish I was in any way capable of making games.
And Danish.
Of course, because we're British. Like anything other than
I would probably. Well, I don't know if that's specifically Danish, but if I had the choice, where I was born, I'd either be born in Mongolia or in just north central North Europe. I don't want to say
in Mongolia
because I can be a Mongolian throat singer.
Is that the only reason?
Yes.
Good, because I can't think of any other reason.
Or Samoa. I wouldn't mind being Samoan either.
What about like New Zealand and so you get the
but
accent.
Samoans are like basically from New Zealand, but they're just big New Zealand people. They're basically
it's just fucking huge.
Yeah, they're just naturally just massive people, but they're usually Kiwis as well. But yeah, I wouldn't say East North Europe because that might include Russia. So Central North Europe, that's literally like Denmark, Sweden, then Norway, and Switzerland, Netherlands. Any of those places, that's where I would choose to be and to have been born.
Yeah,
it's not even.
Not far off.
It's not really even like there's not really anything else. If I was being objective, it's somewhere in there. Just the best place.
Yeah, I mean everything there is just built different.
Iceland's a bit weirder. I think Iceland's fine, but it's also a very weird small island, and it's very expensive. I think they're very expensive. What I'm saying is just everyone should just move to Denmark. Let's overflood it. Let's just overpopulate Denmark by migrating there.
Yeah, just all Deep Rock fans should move to Denmark and just take it over. Rename it to I don't know, Rig 17 or something.
I don't know. Space Rig 7. That's horrible.
Rename it to Ghost Ship. We just take over the country in Ghost Ship's name.
Yeah.
Go from a small indie company to a fucking dictatorship.
Oh my god. Holy shit. Anyway, they started. Are they actually gonna? Oh, they are streaming today. Thank Christ. Right? No, not thank Christ. I don't know what that means. I just know that sometimes they don't, and that kind of weirds me out.
Yeah.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a dwarf of rock and stone. I just dropped into the stream. The first comment I see is "No more rock bugs. They are bad." Sad face. And then the same guy asked, "Will the next season include new season?" Oh, what?
Yeah. People be like that sometimes. Speaking of, I saw this post on the Reddit, and it was some moron, some buffoon This is overclocks that need to be changed.
Yeah, I admit it was a somewhat provocative title.
Clickbait. You gotta respect it.
It is clickbait, even though I thought that's what I meant at the time. I realised, well, no, I don't know. I don't think most of the... Actually, I'll tell you what's interesting. So I guess we need to sort of dive into this and also preface it quite heavily. We are going to be not necessarily just talking about overclocks in a general sense, but we're also going to be focusing on something that I did, my adventures in the Deep Book subreddit. Not so akin to Tyler's from last week, but still a similar vein. We will include visual aids, which I always, whenever I hear the term visual aids, I just think it's like something horrendous. Or it's just like you're looking at something that literally aids. I mean, it's not that bad. But yeah, basically what I did, it started off as a reply to someone else's post, which was someone asking what overclocks would you argue need a buff, nerf, / rework, and I threw my hat into the ring. And when I started writing my reply to this original post, I had like put in it where it was like this. When it got to the actual the things that needed buffs, I wrote there's actually quite a few, so I'll just point out a few key examples, and that was how it was right up until I'd finished writing all of that, and then I realised, hold on, these aren't a few key examples. This is literally every single one.
Yeah, by hat you meant like I don't know what's like a giant fucking hat like that you threw into this ring. I
don't know, sombrero or the Doug Dimmadome's hat.
Yeah, you threw one of them in. A huge ass fucking hat that was bigger than everyone else's. Compensating for something, maybe.
Blotted out the sun. My hat will blot out the sun. And anyway, so I did that, and then I changed it. It's just like, I just wrote this quite a few, so here we go. And I just dived into every overclock that I could think of that sort of, that I could think of an improvement for, basically. I could do more, by the way, because I already know a few that are missing. Either way, so there's that comment that I left on someone else's post, but I also thought this is good enough, or at least this is enough to be its own post, and it could possibly draw some attention. I wouldn't say it did draw in a huge amount of attention, you know. Got
because everyone has to agree with you, or it gets like sent into the void.
Is that how it works? Why do people downvote things? I literally don't understand the concept.
It's their dicks.
No, it's because it's a thing. It obviously wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't a thing. But I just mean it's Reddit's fault that people do this. Where it's like, disagree, leave. It's like, what? Yeah. I don't get it. I don't think I've ever disliked the YouTube video or ever downvoted a Reddit comment or post, even though it's offensive stuff.
Downvoting is so fucking wild because you are literally silencing someone because you dislike what they're saying, because it actively shoves it lower down in the comments, lower down in the visibility in the actual Reddit. Not to mention, if there's low enough dislikes, it will straight up like you have to click onto it to see the message. Like it is actually like silencing because like people don't like your opinion.
Yeah,
and I think that is fucking wild.
Reddit does suck. I mean, I don't think the deeper community doesn't, but Reddit does, and Reddit's always going to breathe an echo chamber in any community. The Reddit side of it will become an echo chamber. Discord is usually just, well, actually, Discord's pretty bad.
Discord's mods are up to no good.
Yeah, they're up to no good. They are. Yeah, I mean, I could rant about that for a while. They silenced me. I brought the truth, and they brought the fire, and I died.
Yeah. So at least you can still post to the Reddit.
Yeah.
As long as you don't
for now.
fuck with any of the rules. Yeah. But yeah, I think we want to just go through your thing first, don't we? Or not really sure how else we could have gone about it.
Yeah, as you could see, I've got 0 upvotes. If I remove mine, holy shit, it's -1. We can't allow for that. Apparently, it's got 20% upvote rate. Why doesn't it tell you the actual number of downvotes?
I don't know. They're annoying.
It was a good 2.5 thousand views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a pretty average amount, I think.
Yeah.
That's an average look rate. Especially since you got downvoted, so it was not going to sit in hot and gain a lot more attention.
Well, I suppose before we start, I mean, I would ask you, off the top of your head, what's an overclock that you think needs to be buffed?
Buffed?
Yeah, like the first thing that comes to mind.
I think only face melter, because that's what I did the other day.
Yeah. This was interesting. Now, this is actually not particularly recent. Now, 5 days is actually that's long. That's not as long ago as I thought it was. But either way, I would say I've eaten my words on this. At the same time, I don't think I've agreed with anyone who's responded. I'm not 100% on everything that I said. But either way.
Yeah.
I'd say face melter might be the closest I've gotten to a possible change of heart. But even then, no.
It's just that it is fine, but it goes. it's like Fat Boy, but like not as cool as Fat Boy. Like it's just like you don't have any fucking ammo to support your damage. And it's more Fat Boy actually does damage. The Face Melter just does some.
It also doesn't really work in terms of supporting your damage, because the point of Face Melter is that it's supposed to do a lot of damage on its own. Yeah, that's not where that's never the right place to get direct damage from the flamethrower. It's usually from, well, now it's from the Sabata or the Wave Cooker. But it's like, if you're using Face Melter, you're expecting to damage, therefore you're not heating things up as quickly, which means you can't use Temp Shock as often.
That's what I'm on about. It is that the direct damage overclocks with the cryo cannon and the flamethrower will never be as good as doing something else with it and just using your secondary to deal direct damage. It will never compete, right? Like, especially with the temperature shock wave cooker, trying to just kill things with your flamethrower and cryo cannon will never compete. It will always be worse than just using your status effect and absolutely annihilating them. And you can actually pick ammo with those runs where you can't really pick ammo with the damage ones because you won't be doing anywhere close to damage and you won't know that. Point is, they are fundamentally wrong, and while I think that technically they should just fucking remove them, I don't think that should be the case. I think they just need to buff them to the point where you can make the argument. And I think there are ways you can do that, at least easily, for Face Melter. I think Face Melter is, I believe you could make usable. You basically just turn the flamethrower into a minigun. Just have very good sustained damage. Like, just buff it to fucking high heaven, but remove everything else, basically. Like, shoot its setting on fire chance in their arse, shoot the sticky flames existing, it's gone, but make it do a lot more direct damage, have a lot more ammo, maybe even a clip size increase, and that might be a weapon. It might be something that actually does direct damage, because even then, Face Melter still doesn't kill Praetorians well, or Repressors well, or Dreadnoughts well, or Caretaker well, or anything you would want direct damage from, it still doesn't do well. So what's the fucking point? You might as well just not have that. And that's why I think Face Melter can really do with a lot to it, because I do believe that it has more merit since the flamethrower is more direct damage than the cryo, which is why I don't think Ice Storm should be in the game.
All right. Well, that's great. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. I thought I'd just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's my one.
All right. Okay. What about a nerf?
A nerf. See, the thing is that I have your one here, and I really can't inherently disagree because, well, yeah. I think we'll go into your one. Yeah, but hipster, it does need nerfed.
But I still think it's a very simple case. My opinion hasn't changed on this, and it probably never will. it doesn't actually need to be. Hipster itself doesn't need to be hindered. That's what I sort of put forward here. We just need to help the M1000 without the non-hipster M1000 in comparison to hipster. Whereas hipster has too much ammo when compared to non-hipster M1000. And so we just take some of the ammo and move it somewhere else. Onto the M1000. I don't know if it's I can't say for certain that this is like the best solution, but my feeling on the matter hasn't changed. I think that makes a lot of sense. Because that's the main reason people pick hipster, I think. Right?
And this is just people, everyone, and anyone who is playing on high rank, high difficulty, hipster is it, right? Like that is it.
Yeah,
if you use the M1000, which a lot of people do, it's hipster. Yeah. And if the ammo was in the base gun, it would make all the other overclocks more viable. That's what it would do. Hipster wouldn't inherently, hipster would be worse, but like, you would still have the same amount of ammo as you do now with hipster, right? Like in this scenario, it's just that you would have more base and then the hipster would add less, right? Like that's how it works.
You could actually have some pretty good I mean, I think it has some okay generalist builds, but they feel bad compared to hipster's level of ammo. And then super cooling chamber might actually become fantastic if it had more ammo, potentially.
Yeah,
I couldn't pinpoint the exact problem with that. You know, we sort of think maybe it's overkill, but it might not feel as overkill if you have more ammo. And wow.
Yeah, basically, I don't think this. At a bare minimum, I think they should like try it, right? In literally in a season 4 beta, you know, the little like experimental week or 2. I don't actually remember how long it is.
It's usually 2 weeks, actually. Yeah.
They should just try it. Just try sending, like, let's say 20 of the ammo from hipster into the main gun. I mean, and see what that does.
I'd say attack more. I'd say 24, which would be 3
like
base clip size, base magazine sizes.
Yeah, something that rounds evenly like that, yeah. And then, see how that changes things. Because if people can still use hipster if they want more ammo, that's fine. But it is the issue that anyone who is anyone has to pick hipster or else you will have no ammo. That's how the M1000 works. And it's why, you know, hipster is a king on it. But yeah, if you know, other options are then made a lot more viable and hipster isn't required, well, still preferable, right? You can still use hipster, have more ammo, use it the way you normally would. That's fine. But it's just then other builds are viable if they have more ammo on them. That's really the thing that needs affected it. And that's why hipster is really one of the few overclocks that needs a nerf, because it is actually just too strong. And it's making the gun worse for being how strong it is. And which I wouldn't say to your other one.
That's because neurotoxin payload is overpowered, but I don't think the Thunderhead is suffering because of it.
No,
I don't know if it's thriving because of it. I think neurotoxin is just neurotoxin. It almost stands alone from the Thunderhead.
Yeah, I think you could nerf neurotoxin, but I don't think it's something that needs nerfing. In that they've tried, right? They've tried quite a few times to nerf it, and it's still amply strong.
Well, that's I think the point I'm trying to make here is that the only leg that neurotoxin needs to stand on is the neurotoxin itself. It doesn't need to do anything else to be
exactly, but that's not really a nerf, then, is it?
Not so much. It's just to see. It's just if suddenly neurotoxin felt really bad if we tank the actual the kinetic damage, if we tank the direct and the area damage, then maybe there's something going on. If you wanted
to actually nerf neurotoxin, you would have to shoot the ammo, right?
Yes,
because that's what it is, right?
Nerf it.
It comes down to how efficient neurotoxin is with the giant ammo pool of the Thunderhead. And if you were to decrease the ammo pool, and I'm talking like 220 ammo gone, I think that would be, I mean, that might be a bit too far, admittedly, but it would be around that much ammo you would have to take away to make neurotoxin as efficient as the other builds. Around that level, something that you couldn't literally pick and you will win without using much ammo at all. Like it's just a guaranteed win thing, with very little difficulty and incredibly efficient. Which is why, yeah, it probably should be nerfed. But unlike Hipster, I think the Thunderhead is amply fine in other regards. Like Big Bertha, completely fine, if not strong. It is very strong. Carpet Bomber, less so. Yeah, but like and the fast, like you don't get slowed down while moving, fun and kind of good. It's still quite good, although it's more fun than good, I think, but it's still good. Basically, it's a healthy gun with a very, very strong overclock on it.
I would say you could make the argument they've tried to nerf it through what enemies have been added. But that only really applies to the robots, as far as I'm concerned, because obviously in the context of neurotoxin, you don't lose out on any ammo, which means you have enough rounds to just dump into the Rockbox enemies, and it works because you can just hit the blisters. The Thunder could be. It's not like it doesn't feel amazing at that because of the accuracy, but it still does it. You still got more ammo than most other weapons, and it only takes one hit on a blister to destroy it. So it's not exactly hurting there.
Yeah,
there's not much that hinders neurotoxin aside from a whole mission type. But yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, you could argue is it the same thing for freezing? But I don't know. I don't know if they really touched. They made the robots or the Rockbox just to balance guns. I don't think they had that in mind, considering most people regarded the flamethrower as strong anyway. And then they added the rivals, right? Like, even though they're wrong, it ain't. Still,
it was to sort of fill in for the gap of the flamethrower not really doing anything good bosses, probably. But at the same time, I don't really. If it is, I don't really like that sort of approach.
At this point in time, it was just the cryo and the flamethrower. So either way, you couldn't do much against bosses.
Well, the sludge pump was on the way at the same point.
Yeah, but it wasn't out. People still regarded the flamethrower in some different regard. Point is, yeah, I think Hipster is something that definitely should be nerfed. Neurotoxin, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but I don't think it's needed. I think it is what it is, really.
But
if they were to nerf it,
that's the thing, though, isn't it? That's the thing. Hipster doesn't need a nerf, actually. The M1000 needs to take from Hipster. You could still actually have Hipster be exactly the same.
Would you? So what you're saying is like it's the percentage ammo it would give you stays the same, but I mean,
well, you could still have as much ammo as you have Hipster currently, but there'd be more without Hipster as well. There'd be more than there was without Hipster. So you would sort of just balance it to make sure it stays level, basically. Where the normal 1000 has more ammo than it used to, but Hipster is probably still at the same level.
Hipster would have the exact same amount of ammo as it, but it's just because, Hipster would have the same amount of ammo, but the default gun would have more overall.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it. Right. Whatever. Well, obviously, there's comments on these posts, and actually, I think a couple of people did address Hipster, and that was weird. They disagreed because.
All right, we'll go for those ones. Should we do them?
Possibly. I mean, I'd have to find them.
I'll help. I've got it pulled up.
The specific comments that touch Hipster or neurotoxin payload. Found it. The guy who touches on both, and I actually respond to him.
Yeah, I see that.
We're gonna look at it. All right, it's a public forum. They put names out there. A.K. Thompson, leaf lover. Apparently, he's a leaf lover. I don't know why you did that.
Self-proclaimed.
Yep. He says the M1000 doesn't need a buff to the base gun. It's already a very versatile, non-OC reliant weapon. Fool.
I
Or doesn't play it as a 5, I guess. Maybe he's new. I don't know. Or maybe he just picked up the M1000 when it came out and just never used anything else because he's a gun nerd.
He's implying that you don't need overclocks generally, right? Which, I mean, the M1000, I mean, obviously hipster is king, but like even still, like if you're
I'm
not
pretty
putting
sure
it,
Hazard 5 came out after Overclocks. And I don't think it would have existed. Yeah, it did, and I don't think it would have existed without Overclocks. Basically,
right?
So, and that's what we talk about. We view everything through the lens of Hazard 5. Just admittedly, self-admittedly, we just do that naturally.
Yeah, because I think it's like the most reasonable point.
I mean, it's definitely not, right?
No, it
is. What?
No, because as we mentioned, everything is strong at Hazard 4, right? So there's no point saying it. It's just like, oh yeah, you can use anything in Hazard 4. That's fine,
I guess
whatever.
It's to create the most universally like mutual balance for the game. Is if we balance it according to Hazard 5, as in if everything is works on Hazard 5, there won't really ever be any arguments.
Yeah.
But,
and obviously not just like easily everything works Hazard 5, everything is super strong. Just everything has a way. Every overclock and every mod contributes to it being useful in Hazard 5. That is the goal of the guns. Because there is no reason for them to be balanced around Hazard 6 times 2 or whatever. So that's not get that shit out of there. If your opinion of anything is based on that, shut up. Not valid, not useful, not in any way.
Not valid in our discussion, certainly.
It's just not valid. It's just, it doesn't matter. Like
it doesn't matter because yeah, everything is like viable below Hazard 5. So it's a redundant conversation almost to not talk about balance through the lens of Hazard 5. Because that's the only way we can debate balance. Is because Hazard 5 is the only place where balance matters. And
it's the only place where
imbalances exist. So if you want to have these discussions, you have to do it through the lens of Hazard 5. And therefore, if you don't have any experience in Hazard 5, you can't really be a useful part of the discussion, unfortunately. that's just a fact. But yeah, so I addressed his M1000 point, saying that I heavily disagree, because hipster is its most popular overclock. That's facts, and it's because of the ammo. It adds too much of a balanced overclock, and it makes other builds feel weaker in comparison. It just is.
Yeah,
it just is. I don't know that, but it just is.
For me to make a poll.
Probably should actually.
I'll go do it. I like making polls.
Why don't you do it for the Thunderhead and the 1000?
Yeah, sure. I'll do.
Given that that's actually a pretty like distinct pair, because they're the only two that I suggested nerfs for. But either way, well, we pretty much just discussed why the 1000. Well, why hips needs to be changed. But what he says about Neurotoxin, he says Neurotoxin needs the fear mod to be gone, and it shouldn't have Carpet Bomber's radius buff, to be honest. So I do address his suggestion, or his point about Neurotoxin is twofold, so I address both parts separately. As in, so the radius, it is weird that it gets a radius buff at all, I think, because that's hurting Carpet Bomber, first of all, by having it be the same as Carpet Bomber. Not necessarily that Neurotoxin needs to be lower. I think Carpet Bomber just needs to be stronger. And Carpet Bomber could actually excuse its like really low direct damage if you just give it a massive radius instead. Because you don't even necessarily need to buff the AoE damage. You just need to be able to hit like fucking 10 enemies at the same time. It might actually work. But then I sort of go on to say there's a possibility of if Neurotoxin actually you like has like perhaps even a radius penalty where Neurotoxin only gets inflicted on the things that you directly hit. That could create an interesting balance, but I think I actually sort of agree with you that it probably doesn't really need to be nerfed. So
it doesn't need to be, but there might come a point in time where they might as well.
Well, I think the reason why Neurotoxin is so strong is because it's so undeliberate. You really can just spray into a horde without any kind of thought, and I think Neurotoxin would still retain its strength even if you had to be more intentional with it. And you'd have to be more intentional with it by you have to it only actually applies neurotoxin from direct hits.
And that's the thing, though, is I think it's got a fine balance, because it will go from being like what it is now, which is essentially a guaranteed win, right? But it's not even that, though, right? It's not even that, because the game isn't that. You can still fuck up using neurotoxin, but it makes everything so much easier if you can use it sufficiently well. But they're gonna go from that, and if they nerf it like in a slightly bad way, it will literally become terrible. Because that's what it could just do that in an instant, right? If they fuck your chances of neurotoxin to down to like 10% or something, right, to balance it out, that would instantly be fuck this shit. I ain't using that. Honestly, the ammo thing might be too much, and people would stop using it. Like, because also it's not that fun, right?
Yeah, it's not actually. It's weird. I don't know if it's not the meta necessarily, because I just don't think the Fun Dead gets used. I don't even know what the meta is when I think about it. There's no one who really talks about the meta properly. It's because the people who do, it's all about the fucking modded difficulties. You know, when it comes to like the very
which
first
in all
things
fairness
to
is
use.
because it's basically the same argument we're using, but it's not valid because it's modded, right? It's just that in modded difficulties, you really have to spec and keep an eye on what's actually strong or not in a weapon. Only their values change with the higher difficulties. They start putting a lot of more AoE on pedestal because of a lot more enemies, stuff like that. So we keep it to normal level. But yeah, they have to care about each mod's strength, basically, or else they'll die. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
that's obviously we got a light amount of that in Hazard 5, right? That's the point, right? You do have to make sure you're not using a throw overclock with throw mods, and you'll never stand a chance in Haz 5. But yeah.
What a loser. But yeah, he also the other thing that he said is that neurotoxin needs the fear mod to be gone, which is, I find that a confusing sentence, because I don't know if that means he thinks that mod shouldn't exist. Which it should. It's a really good mod, and it's still not like, I don't think it dominates either. I think the defense enhancement mod is actually probably the most popular. But fear is absolutely fantastic for both the unstables, actually. Because neurotoxin, you don't really need things to be grouped up like inherently to get the most out of it. I can see why you wouldn't want fear necessarily on something that uses direct area damage. Well, I should say kinetic area damage. And it also worked very well with Big Bertha. But so I address that in that they couldn't really remove fear because it is a mod, as in they couldn't remove it from neurotoxin because it's a gear modification. It's not part of the overclock. But in like specific response to that, I brought up, I wouldn't say I'm suggesting, but I did bring up the idea that neurotoxin actually plays with aggro, and it actually makes enemies target you if you inflict neurotoxin on them. Which it strikes me as a really unique way of potentially balancing it, but because it actually potentially has strategic, like you could actually build around that and make it useful somehow. At the same time, this is probably better used in something else.
We just both want,
or a new overclock.
We just really both want that kind of mechanic to be introduced, a more strategical aggro mechanic in some way, shape, or form, especially for Gunner, really, right? Like, yeah. Scout kind of has it, right? Like, obviously he doesn't technically, but like with pheromone and him being the only one that has access to it, he basically has a push aggro away from me, right? Like, he has putrid scent, right? He's got that in his fucking back pocket, like, don't come near me. But like Gunner doesn't really have or Driller doesn't really have a come get me kind of thing.
I mean, I sort of think a taunt perk is really the right way to go with that. But I thought specifically with neurotoxin, I think it wouldn't really change anything on solo, first of all. But I guess it would just you know, if you can literally turn every enemy that like target you, then you can kite very effectively in a co-op scenario where like every enemy is going for you, and that means they're all going to be grouped up more efficiently. So it could actually end up being very strong. So
yeah,
it might not even. Yeah, I don't know actually. I just threw something at the wall. because this guy said that the fear mod needs to disappear, and I just didn't know how to address that. I don't know why I felt compelled to respond to him at all. I mean, I did, and I don't really feel that way about most. I shouldn't say most people, about most other responses. You know, everyone's valid, but not all suggestions are made equal. Either way, we need to actually get into the buffs.
For instance, all of Revan's are terrible.
Shut up. Wait, what?
Yeah.
He's not watching this. Revan,
I said that all of Revan. He doesn't actually watch this things. They're fine. But,
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyone that does watch this and the streams, don't tell him.
Don't tell him anything.
He'll never know.
Don't tell him what we said. Yeah. But yeah, the actual buffs, and I don't really want to just list these off, but at the same time, we can't like spend forever on listing them off. But that's why I sort of included a little bit of an explanation for each, and I could have gone further with every single one if I wanted to. But I sort of did it in the form of like the weapon / then like the overclock that I'm talking about, and there's a lot left out here, like specifically for the first bunch. So electro mindlets, and I think my argument here makes perfect sense, right? It doesn't make sense that you would use a stat effect that doesn't stack on a burst weapon, in my opinion, for the mindlets.
Yeah.
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 But specifically for the mindlets, because they apply the same effect, it doesn't stack, so there's no point in there being more than one mindlet, right? So, good job there. So I suggest that if they want to take a simple approach, they just change it so that it electrocutes when you hit something with a full burst. And applies an electric arc. Right, yeah, that was the idea. Yeah, or make it cryo-mindlets, which is the obvious powerful change. But we know,
yeah. Cryo needs to be kept off Gunner. We both agree with that.
Yeah.
He should not have access to it.
But essentially,
it
would make it so you just have to hit things directly, but it would still produce a similar effect. I mean, honestly, electromagnets is completely fucking useless, and anyone who defends it is an idiot. Genuinely, right? There's a lot of I could do a whole video on this, right? But still, it exists. We might as well try and make it better. And I think realistically, it comes down to either just making it a direct combo thing. You sort of have like the smart rifle where any enemy that's got 3 locks on them gets electrocuted. It's pretty much that. Instead of using mindlets on a burst weapon. Mindlets use a non-stackable effect for a burst weapon. It doesn't do anything. Like unless actually, honestly, what could be good is if they make it semi-automatic for electro mindlets. That would actually work. That would actually be not a bad change at all. So you can do that. Go ahead. But that's electro mindlets, and it's the only Burt one. But that's because all the others are so boring. The Burt has a problem. We'll talk about that at some point. But that's the only one that's like a problem. Right, so there's more to it. There's more to the Burt's issues than that. Who's next? Oh God. Oh good God. It's him. A Hurricane. Plasma bursters. My suggestion is that they make them good. Like they used to be. Because they did. I think it was only an experimental branch, but they were absolutely gold tier, and they completely obliterated everything. They were actually overpowered. I don't necessarily think they need to be overpowered, or they probably shouldn't be overpowered, but I think just sort of reverting a lot of the changes could help. At the same time, this, like I say, these overclocks strikes me as one that should actually give you more ammo, right? The whole point is you're essentially supposed to create like swarms of bees or plasma bees.
I think you don't get the point of it. Not that I think it's strong.
No, they don't get the point of it. They know the point of it, but it doesn't work for the point of it.
The fact that they don't have ammo on it means that they get the point of it. The point is that you were supposed to be able to do a lot more damage with one rocket and with this than you would be with anything else. Basically, so if you play your cards well enough, one of these rockets will equal more than that. Basically, that is the point of this. That's why it pierces and all that stuff. Like that's their goal, and that's why because it gets rid of your ammo, doesn't it? And like a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be that you then, with the rockets you do have, do a lot more damage out of them. But it doesn't, right?
You really can't get that effect, and it never feels like it. Even against things. Obviously, it's okay against Macteras. Like the problem is, it just gets stopped by terrain, which means you can barely.
Once it gets the point.
Yeah, basically, you can only really do a lot of damage to something if there's nothing behind it. But obviously, if you're just standing, if you're on a flat plane, you can't really. It's always going to be at a certain angle where there is effectively terrain behind those enemies. You sort of need to be level. They basically need to be on a hill, but not on a wall or flying. Dreadnoughts tend to be big enough where it works, but at the same time, they don't actually feel like they do a ridiculous amount of damage to dreadnoughts. Not in the way that they used to. Even though that's something that you can easily hit multiple times with all the missiles. Essentially, they as it stands, they're not good enough. And it's sad because they're actually very unique and pretty cool, but they just don't work, fortunately. And I want them to. I suppose if we can just strike off the idea of giving them more ammo, I want them to be good at what they're meant to be good at because I like that idea. So I really wish you could get some help. Plasma bursters. Actually, they're in the thumbnail because it's not actually in game, but technically, plasma burster missiles has 5 penalties. And only 2 like upsides. One of which is plus plasma bursters. That's the what it gives you, plasma burster.
Yeah.
Which is wow. Thanks, guys. In game though, it's actually 2 for 2, but. You know, it not only does it ignore one of them, like projectile velocity, but that's because it's supposed to help with missile maneuverability. The lower damage output includes lower direct damage, lower area damage, and lower radius. So, as in, you can tell what's going on because if you hover over plasma burst missiles, there's 5 things that are taken away, even though it doesn't actually list 5 different negatives. So that just doesn't sit right with me on principle as well.
Yeah, and I just went through the comments of both things, and no one is fighting you on that either. No one's coming to its defense.
No.
Although apparently some madman actually uses it, and like he mains it and made it work, but it still acknowledges that it's very weak. Thinks it needs more mobility. Or maneuverability.
Oh, they're actually very maneuverable, but it just feels weird with how you have to maneuver them. Because you have to maneuver them. It's actually very difficult to explain, but it's bad. A bad overclock as it stands. Good idea. Genuinely good idea. Apparently too good of an idea to actually be executed properly. So great. Coil gun though, he's got one here, and actually I think I agree with just the one. For example, because like the Hurricane manual guidance cutoff needs help. It's awful, but coil gun, I think I agree that Reatomizer is the main one. Because my suggestion is just make it a good, not niche overclock. And I should point out, it goes beyond just being niche. I actually don't know what you're supposed to use Reatomizer for. I don't know what people use it for. Which means however niche its use is, it's too niche, or it's not actually useful. So,
its niche was making enemies elite, right? That was its niche. And then they accidentally must have removed it or something. And that was
no, they didn't. It wasn't accidentally.
No, they must have accidentally removed the main feature of it.
Nothing about what they've done to Reatomizer makes sense. I think the glitches might still be in place where if you shoot something with like, if you shoot a frozen enemy with it, it starts freezing things for some reason. Like just in general, you can just freeze things with it, which is actually not a bad idea. Where it's like a memory thing, where it just remembers the last like status effect it touched, and it just uses that.
Yeah, but first of all, if you have fire, then it's essentially going to be a worse hellfire. Second of all, to actually do stuff like that really particularly well, you would need another character, right? Like if you wanted to just copy Cryo, you'd need someone else that has Cryo.
Yes, exactly.
So it wouldn't be anything close to useful on its own.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I haven't really tried is like using it with like. Well, I'm pretty sure it's like it doesn't work with most effects. Like the stuff you'd want is like things like
pheromones,
or like the explosive chemical bolts effect, things like that. And I think the niche is you're supposed to use it with necrothermal catalyst, which is already overkill though. Necrothermal catalyst is already overkill, and in fact you're supposed to use it to make chains of those explosions is beyond overkill, and it just ends up being useless.
Yeah, they made it far too strong, and they realized that, and then they made it far too weak. Really, like, or they were like, yeah, let's just have them like be able to fucking copy like anything, and they're like,
I just think Reactomizer is just begging to be the random status effect overclock.
Pretty much
that we are owed, or that the game deserves, in some capacity. It could be Reactomizer, it could be a new one, because it doesn't have to be for the core gun necessarily, but Reactomizer strikes me, it sort of just plays into the idea of using status effects that aren't inherent to it, so it's already on that path. So, and I don't think anyone's going to miss it. I mean, it is a clean overclock. If you wanted to add like the random status effect overclock as a new one, that's just fine. But I would like Reactomizer to provide something genuine, and it doesn't. Unlike apparently Bullet Hell, which I think I'm right. You got a solid... Yeah, I know. We might actually need to talk about those comments immediately. Apparently it's fun. Well, not apparently. It's what I say. Is that it's fun, but it's bad for higher difficulties. Apparently I'm wrong about that part.
Yeah,
there's that one guy.
Really good in weather difficulties.
So my suggestion is to make it ricochet 100% of the time, which I think that alone should be done. Like, I don't really see how you can really say no to just that. But then I sort of have this idea of it possibly be able to ricochet a lot more, but with like decreasing chances every time. I like that I included a 1% as well. But yeah, if it could do that, if it could ricochet that much, then I thought we'd probably actually have less, maybe even less damage or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's like, I think as it stands, it's like 75% of the time, which is obviously isn't low. But I think in the context of what it takes away, how much less damage it has, and how much ammo you need to use to actually clear through hordes, I feel like it deserves to essentially be 2 bullets in one. Especially because a lot of the time, you can just end up hitting terrain. Especially if you're trying to take groups out from a distance, you're usually just hitting the terrain around them and just you end up hitting because it ricochets, but not even 100% of the time. So, Bullet Hell. Yeah.
I feel like, because I'm looking at the comment, I think the other one might have a comment on it, but this guy certainly does. And I feel like this comment is why you need to kind of, I'm not sure the term, just flex your level at the beginning. Like, just say I'm like at level 1200.
Yeah,
just get that out of the way.
Well, hold on. What you on the?
I think when it's a comment, some guy comments, and it's he goes, Bullet Hell actually gets better as hazard level increases. It's a very good solo build for modded hazards, which you can just draw a line through that thing. That's not a valid point.
Never will be.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he says that it is like it's not inherently an ego. It's more that like you wouldn't know that, and it's why you kind of need to just say you're level 1200 and you play Has 5s constantly. just to slip that in there, and so people can't question what you play it on, like level wise, because it would resolve things like this. Although he might still believe that to be the case, which the issue with Bullet Hell
I actually can't find this comment.
It's little Bobby Tails 9 on your, or when you were commenting on the post. It's along with the big stuff. He goes on to about the hipster and the persistent plasma after. But yeah, like he, I don't know. The issue with fucking Bullet Hell is that they don't die quickly. Therefore, they get a lot of hits on you, and there's not much you can do about it. Like that's the issue. Like as you're shooting the one closest and in front of you, they are dying a bit, and then all the ones behind it are, slightly getting killed. And it's pretty cool killing so many enemies at the same time with a single beam. But then you realize
Tyler,
that
I think this guy's actually a troll. Did you see what he said about hipster?
Yeah, no, I think he might be a troll.
We talked about that on when we were talking about hipster, because this is in regards to what I said about hipster needing a nerf. He said N1000 does not need help at all. At base, it's already much, much better than base GK2 or track. So immediately,
it's not trolling,
and we know we're dealing with a professional. And hipster isn't even the best overclock on the gun, much less in need of a nerf. Particularly when you're leaving alone ridiculous stuff like Thin Containment Field, Hellfire, Volatile Bullet, Sticky Fuel. All fine, by the way. Hellfire, by the way, is not overpowered. Not that I think those should be nerfed necessarily. I'm of the opinion that fun is more important than balance, and I think they're in a fun state right now. If anything's going to be nerfed, it should be those first. Well, that's the point. I wouldn't consider hipster particularly fun.
Hipster prevents you having fun using other overclocks.
Yeah, or it could help you have fun using other overclocks.
Yeah.
It wasn't such an ammo hog.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what this guy's deal is. I don't like him. But yeah, Bullet Hell. I want to go back to the my post because of what someone said. There was a little bit of like a chain about Bullet Hell. Starting with Possum Soul. Right, this is interesting. It says, the only one I disagree with here is Bullet Hell. It's amazing for crowd control and has 5 with stun in tier 3. Yeah, crowd control. Right? Crowd control, when it comes to gunner primaries, but when you spec into it, are the best at crowd clearing. Don't. even the minigun, which is usually for single target damage, you do have burning hell. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which combines amazing crowd clearing with amazing single target damage if you build it right with volatile bullets. And then some people are like, I agree, stalling and mowing down a group just by spraying in the general direction is pretty sweet. It does do that. I wouldn't say mowing down, though.
I'd say, I think mowing is an accurate description because, as for what I've seen, mowing the lawn is by no means easy most of the time. It's a very laboured, stuttering, annoying process that will eventually get the job done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah, and it makes Macterra play so trivial, and that is probably something I could agree with. Because if you're stunning and hitting multiple, you probably will deal with the group of Macterra that will be about to gun you down.
Solution.
But then again,
Hellfire.
once again, yeah, you're a gunner. You could just kill them all before they can even shoot you. It is just yeah. I mean, there's a lot, isn't there? But I think it gets in there. It's just it starts off. This argument is, you can control the horde. Meanwhile, you could just kill them. Is really the thing there, really, isn't it? Like, yeah. You could just fucking murder them all, and be better off for it, really.
Anyway, how this conversation progresses brings me close to being offended, actually. Well, this guy, this lovely fella, is by the way, if anyone who made any of these comments is watching this, I love you.
Fight.
What?
Fight.
No, I'm just saying this is your points are the point. This is not a character assassination.
Yeah.
I don't care about who you are. I care about the stupid shit that you said in response to my post. All right. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Basically, I mean, I know that should go without saying, but just in case, it's just
Harry,
the points. So
Harry,
what?
they're on Reddit. They're not going to listen to reason. They're just going to downvote you in real
Yeah,
life.
not when you say things like that.
No, it's whatever at this point. I mean, yeah, they already downvoted it. It's fine.
But anyway, he says, bullet hell is not good on high difficulties, as a quote. It's got to be one of the most parroted pieces of propaganda in the sub. I can't help but think people who believe that either don't play Hazard 5 or haven't tried the OC for themselves. And this is what brings me close to being offended, because I know he doesn't mention me. He doesn't mention... Yeah, he doesn't mention me, right? It's not directed at me, but it is... right?
You said that, and he's saying people who say that don't play Has 5 or have never used the overclock. Right?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. So he's saying that he thinks that people like you do not play on Has 5, which is another reason why I think if you ever do shit like this again, you need to pull out your fucking dick and show them your inches and say, do not fuck with me on whether or not I've used this overclock on Hazard 5. Yeah.
I did, though. Things I saw all this and I thought, am I wrong? No.
Did you try it then?
I did try it, and I did not eat my words. It wasn't good.
Thing is,
it was slightly better than I was expecting, though. It was slightly better than I was expecting.
It's not that bad. Hey, I feel like you need to, for stuff like that, you used it once, I imagine, right?
No, twice.
Yeah, even still, I think you should give it like 5 attempts each with different kind of builds and different kind of angles. Because I think at that point, because not only that, because you will get used to it by around the 5th time, right? You would have actually started using it well.
Used it for 10,000 hours.
Sure. Either way, I feel like for stuff like that, maybe it is best just using it a lot. You know what I mean? Which I feel like at this point in time, you might as well, right? But like, if you can get used to using it, you might learn it's actually not that bad. I might find a build and stuff. Because
I know, but it's like the point is, when it comes to the things that I think are bad, it's because they haven't they just made, it's usually because they made a bad first impression, right? But that's because they're probably not good, you know? And a lot of stuff I point out, some things like that I like aren't immediately like obviously good. Like a lot of the wave cooker builds that I use, or some of the coil gun stuff that I use. But it was still good enough at first for me to want to use it more. And bullet hell doesn't really... It was quite fun though, actually. It wasn't... I don't know. But then, you know, you've got General Kenobi here. Exactly. Only make comments about shit you've experienced with. Also, bullet hell is fun as hell and surprisingly effective.
So I think we know who downvoted you, by the way.
Yeah. And also we got Nightgorn 7 saying that death is the best status effect, which is something that gets downvoted.
He got downvoted, yeah. I
upvoted him.
Alright. So
but then, no, actually, okay, Sergeant Indy, first, I want to say thank you, Sergeant Indy, because this is what I did. Bullet hell and blow through rounds is really, really good. It feels weird, because I think it works in the sense of, like, I think it bounces off the first thing that you hit, but the initial bullet will still penetrate. It's not like the penetrative. It's not like the penetrative. Yeah, the penetrative bullet doesn't bounce again, but you still can effectively get 3 hits out of every bullet potentially.
Yeah.
And I think that is the right way to use it. Or stun, actually, increase stun chance, because then you just stun a lot.
Which, in all fairness, I think that is actually kind of required, because as mentioned, the issue comes down to the fact that you're not killing them quick enough. That they will get to you. That's my issue with bullet hell, is that everything will be weak when it does, but they'll still be alive and they'll still do just as much damage, right? And you will get killed. Unless you throw down your shield. But meanwhile, if you had a normal minigun, at least you would have killed them all, or killed most of them, with only like a couple lingering. Or if you used like burning hell, they would all be dead the second they got close. And it's just, yeah, that's why as much as I am more, I have a bullet hell build, which I doubt you do, unless you've still got this one you tried lingering around.
No.
I'm more, see, you got it immediately, but I am more tolerant to bullet hell because it is fun. But it is a fact that it's just not nice that they aren't dying. They're just not dying, and they will hit you and you will die instead because you got them all low, but that's about as good as the bullet hell can do most of the time. Unless obviously you play around that. I mean, you probably should anyway. You don't want running catching up to you, but it's more that normally you wouldn't have to play around it. You would just kill them, right? But no, with bullet hell, you'd have to like fucking like zip line or zip line. Zip line. Zip line above them or throw your shield down or some life-saving tech needs to be used just so you can kill them instead of just killing them with a normal minigun. And that's why bullet hell can do with getting buffed.
Bullet hell
it's pretty fun.
Bullet hell can go to bullet hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was actually all the gunner ones, though.
Yeah.
What else is there anyway? I don't know. Chain hit on the bulldog.
Yeah, I mean that's just I don't know. I mean those ones like different things, really, aren't they? It's just like why overclocks? Like what does this add to the gun? Really, stuff like that.
Yeah. But anyway, one that I was surprisingly uncontroversial. It might have been if these posts actually gained any sort of traction. Which was turret arc. Because we're moving on to engineer now. Stubby. I take issues with not the idea, but I suppose I should just read it. I mean, you can see it, but I think it should be reworked to create arcs, as in those arcs between the enemies that you electrocute, with heavy penalties to damage and ammo. So I think that is a good idea, but then I realise the problem is, I think turret arc is somewhat precious to certain people and also Ghost Ship because it's turret arc. And if turret arc disappears, it just wouldn't feel right. But also my suggestion would just completely override it anyway if both are in the game.
The highest level player I've ever seen use turret arc. Like he was like level 2,500 and he was an engineer and he joined and he built a platform sticking out of the fucking wall and he put his turrets down at the entrance and just electrocuted everything.
That's because he decided that to use his strength for good, to master the worst overclocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I at that point I was like, I'm going to give it a little try, and I couldn't be asked because it's engineer. But still, I know there are a lot of dedicated people that would be quite pissed if they fucked around with turret arc that much.
Actually, hold on a second. Hold on a minute. Hold on, everyone, hold the phone. Right? I think a big issue I take with turret arc, first of all, is that it's a worse turret overclock. In that the Stubby has 2, and it's the worst one. But we've got Cascrete Catalyst now. We can use platforms for things. I think when it comes to creating electric fences, using the platforms makes a lot more sense. Because you just have a lot more to work with.
Yeah.
And that's why you would need heavy penalties, damage, and ammo, which I think it already has. But I really think that's what could make this something. Possibly. Perhaps. Maybe. I don't know about literally creating those, because the point is of what turret arc is an electrocution effect. It's like a solid beam of electricity, a solid arc, which means it can affect everything basically.
Someone did like comment about turret arc.
Yes, they did actually. On the comment.
Go on.
Front Rider, and I think he's just going through a couple of the ones I suggested and just saying what he thinks. He said about Stubby / turret arc, the single buff it can use without turning completely different overclock is mods on the sentry to further speed up construction. That is the only weak leg it has. I'm very successful with it on eliminations because I don't have to reset the sentries. One extra source of slow you can get the Dread to be stuck in the arc, standing there taking damage. But you can't really do that on your own, so that probably explains why I don't like it. Reset the arc is also not really an issue after some practice, but being able to reignite it for an hour would help a lot. Now, I thought you could do that. You can refresh the arc before it deactivates.
What do you mean? You can't like update it while it's still going.
Yeah,
you have to wait until one of them turns off.
Oh dear. Dear.
No, yeah. I mean, he has got some other ones that I think we didn't mention earlier. Like he did talk about Bullet Hell.
Oh shit.
Getting there. The chamber pressure fix helped it.
Not unusable in Hazard 5 anymore, but definitely not worth the sacrifices, in my opinion. I read that people think it otherwise as well, which might be a good sign. I think it means it's a good sign that people are starting to use it.
Yeah. And then Reatomizer is actually two people brought up. This guy, again, being niche is never a big issue, but how relevant the niche is.
Oh, right. Yeah, I actually... damn it, I feel bad now because I misread that before. He said, however irrelevant the niche is. That's what I thought he wrote, which means it doesn't matter because niche is like the niche and that's fine. But no, the point is that it's too niche. It's too niche to be worth being part of just the overclock grind. I think every overclock is worth making have some value. You know, just never feel like what you unlock is useless. So
yeah. And then on the one where it was your post, some guy thinks the only one he agrees with is Reatomizer. Everything else has its place and works as intended.
Yeah, okay, that one. Everything else has its place and works as intended. That's so confusing to me because I can't tell if that feels like it comes from a place of experience or blind faith. I have no idea. Yeah, and General Kenobi makes a grand return. Oh yeah, actually, he says a lot of the reasons you listed aren't even good ones. I mean, for face melter, you literally just state you don't like it. Now that's because this is clickbait, but also, I don't know why people don't understand that everything is an opinion. No one actually has command over the facts of what needs to be buffed or nerfed. It's coming from me, which means it's coming from me.
Yeah,
I'm not a prophet.
That's just something I
I'm
wish
not
I
trying
could.
to be a prophet either. These are my opinions, even if I don't say that they are.
Yeah, that like people seem to think that their opinion is in any way more qualified than anyone else's. Like, yeah, well, like them saying that actually, no, yours is wrong because this is what I think. They think that proves you wrong. That your opinion is different than theirs, therefore you're wrong. Is what people assume. Because obviously, I mean, this is basically what this guy just did, right? I mean, it's not inherently malicious. It's just nature, like human nature, is that, you know, in his opinion, he only agrees with, you know, Reatomizer. Everything else is in its place and works as intended. Like, that is his opinion.
I think a lot of things do work as intended, but plasma bursters don't. So I don't know how we missed that.
Yeah.
I would agree that a lot of things do work as intended, but not everything has its place. Like Neuro less so. And obviously General Kenobi makes his grand return. Yeah, this dwarf clearly has some bias. Yeah, of course I fucking have bias. Who the fuck doesn't?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
This guy clearly has bias against manual guidance cut off for the hurricane. Like, leave manual guidance cut off alone. What?
The
like,
only genuine,
this guy's clearly got some bias.
the only genuine flux that need changing, in my opinion, are the useless ones. Well, there's more useless ones than you think, buddy. That's the thing. Roll control isn't useless though. At least it does admit that it's decent-ish for Macteras, which is true. It's good for more than just Macteras though. I actually, because I used every overclock recently for all the Gen 2 secondaries, I was just going through them. Roll control, I think, actually has a place. And I think it's weird how dominated the Breach Cutter is by lightweight magazines, because I think it has a lot of other cool stuff you can do with it. A lot of other actually useful stuff that you can do with it. And the point is that in a lot of ways you can make it better than it is at base. And the only reason that the lightweight magazines is good is because it gives you more ammo, it gives you more base Breach Cutter. But you can actually do better than base Breach Cutter. And roll control is also one of those. It's actually slightly better. So
That's just the one where it spins like a fucking front door of a Grand Hotel, right?
isn't that spinning death?
Ah, yeah, that's the one.
Roll
What's
control
roll
is the one
control?
where when you hold it, as long as you're holding the trigger, it spins on its like on the horizontal plane. Like it moves at normal speed, but like it like a fan.
Right, it's like a windmill.
Yeah, and you can sort of when you let go, it will stay in that orientation.
You could like angle it for more. Yeah, that is its place. If you're fighting in more of an angled terrain, like if the
You can actually
floor
use
is
it
a
to
little
hit enemies
more
on walls
leaning.
much more effectively, and you can
Yeah.
angle it to just be like vertical. It's also good for
Yeah.
hitting Mac terrors, and also I actually find that it feels like it does better against Praetorians if you angle it vertically as well. It also makes it so you can like make bigger plasma trails. Like you can
I
make
think that-
cylinders of plasma trails with it. Pretty
I think
cool.
that is the thing, because even though you really tried manual guidance cutoff, I think that is the thing with both of these is that I can like, especially with those two, you can see what they're for. They're not inherently to make the gun better, but they are to cure inconveniences caused by the way the gun works. If you know what I mean, like breach cutter shoots a straight line forward, right? That's how it works. This allows you to change the direction of that straight line, allowing for more versatile usage of it, right? Up walls, through diagonal, like slightly more angled terrain, stuff like that. And manual guidance cutoff is for when you've shot at a more stationary target enough, and then you want to go shoot at something else, but you can't because that will pull the things away from the target.
The base hurricane isn't quite there for
Good
that
enough,
to make
yeah.
sense. But for you to take up your overclock slot just for a occasional convenience doesn't quite work. I think manual guidance cutoff would be pretty good if it worked in reverse, where they're not guided until you let go of the trigger.
Is it a thing that once you take off the guidance, they get quicker, right? Isn't that a thing?
Yes, they go to top speed like immediately, I think, and it's actually higher top speed. It's like the second highest top speed you can get as well. Like just behind jet fuel.
Like it literally is. Like it is designed for dealing with stationary targets.
If it was a clean direct damage, then it would actually make a lot more sense as well. But
yeah,
and the Hurricane doesn't have that.
I think maybe literally like a +1, +2 direct damage.
Well, in the context of the Hurricane, it's probably something more like +4, especially because the jet fuel Hurricane, which brings you up from 16 base direct damage up to 40/50.
Okay, yeah, maybe a little bit more, but like yeah, but yeah, something like that, and then manual guidance cutoff will be used as a light damage, but then people will actually realize that it's also used for those situations. It's for used for when you know you've already killed the enemy, but you want to move on. That's what it's for. And I think that is the interesting thing, is that like the fact that he calls them useless means he doesn't realize that. That's kind of what it is. I mean, well, obviously their use isn't inherently to make it stronger. It's just to alleviate a inconvenience that weapon causes. The issue is people get used to that inconvenience, right? People are used to being limited by the angle of their the angle of their breach cutter. People are used to it always the hurricane shots always following your thing. So trying to fix that isn't really needed when people have already gotten used to it.
Well, I'm used to it, but on the breach cutter, but it doesn't actually change anything. It's still it can still be better in some scenarios.
But it makes people not want to go out of their way, like because your thing will be not as strong as it could be, but it like people don't care enough about it fixing the issue.
I think lightweight magazines might be my least favorite breach cutter overclock.
That's
maybe I think high voltage crossover is kind of useless, but still.
That's the same thing as why crowd control when you could crowd kill. Really, I think that's the
that's why I
use
Inferno. Inferno's like the only one when you can take ammo, but also one shot guards. Actually, you can do that with Return to Sender, but Return to Sender has an ammo penalty. Basically, just use Inferno. I'm saying. Anyway, back to the list. Oh boy. Look who it is. Neuro Lasso.
I don't think anyone bothered to pull you up on that.
No, I really do like the ideas though. That I think we've talked about this before, and I think it might be you suggested the pheromones, maybe. But I think it's just a full-on rework, but still stay somewhat true to the idea. But it's actually good, is that it would just apply either pheromones or neurotoxin while you're locking on, but then it forces you to fire as well, eventually, instead of being a limited lock-on duration. That's how you would have to have that work. And I think that's just outright a good idea. And I think it's such a good idea that I don't care that if you added this overclock, it would make Neurolasso useless. I don't care. Because I want whatever that is. I actually think I want the pheromones more than neurotoxin.
The issue with that is that you could really cheese it.
How?
Well, you would apply it and then you'd switch weapon before it shoots you.
No, of course you'd still shoot. Or just waste the ammo, like Shard Diffractor style.
Right.
Yeah. No cheese here.
Always a good feature.
No cheese here, son. But yeah, that's Neurolasso. Considering no one's brought it up, we don't need to dote on it. Compact rounds, however. Compact rounds for the PGL, the balanced ammo overclock, which is fine, but is made redundant by RJ250. And also possibly reworked to utilize status effect. Basically, it's just a new overclock, but I saw it in that guy's modded overclocks video, and it's pretty cool. Where the long range electric pulse. It's a pretty cool idea. He also did the magazine expansion one, which I think actually makes sense for compact rounds. So those directions you could go with it. But in terms of how people felt about that, I think it might have just been the one guy. Oh, it's actually the first guy. It's the first comment. If you think compact rounds is redundant, how about clean sweeps as pack rat? There is a small time to kill difference between all of those. Compact round is more consistent when killing stuff compared to RJ. If you don't take stun mod and running all ammo on RJ, your time to kill on crowd will be worse than compact rounds, clean sweep, and pack rat. So basically, this guy's an idiot and doesn't know what incendiary compound is, and is just using the PGL without it, and that's why he thinks compact rounds is good.
Yeah.
For some reason.
There is another guy that talked about it. It's the guy that. It's like the second guy that talked about a lot, and he basically entirely agrees with you. He explains what the issue is. I'm not sure whether or not, because he knows that you don't know about it, but yeah, he basically agrees, because I think anyone it can agree with that, right? This overclock is entirely pointless. Like, if you want to talk about a useless overclock, that is it, right? Not roll one or whatever your fucking manual guidance cut off,
guys.
Right? This is useless. It is entirely worthless of a thing to put on your gun.
Yeah, and the reason why pack rat isn't is because pack rat can actually be used to build for something that can actually kill quite consistently without incendiary compound. Unlike, it's still arguably like redundant when you consider the actual best way to use the PGL, but compact rounds is still worse because it's the same as RJ250, except RJ250 has more ammo and doesn't have a radius penalty. So good luck using compact rounds. I'll be over here, not using the PGL, having a better time. But if I am using it, I'm probably using RJ250.
Yeah.
So yeah, have fun with that. He also mentions bullet hell though. But try pulling all 4 or 6 eggs at the same time. It has a 5 to test how strong it is. Run stun mod and aggressive venting / hot bullets. Yeah, it won't change my opinion. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Maybe I should try it though. I actually agree. I should probably try using bullet hell a little bit more. Anyway, I think his point about persistent. I haven't actually got the persistent plasma yet. Feedback loop, however, is the next one. Shard Diffractor feedback loop. I say that it's too dismissible of an. Do you actually know what feedback loop is?
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I don't think anyone talks about it either.
No, it's the one where it's supposed to build up AoE damage and radius.
Oh right, I've not noticed that at all.
No, because, and this is what I say, it's too dismissible of an effect considering the downsides. And I say you need to either find a different penalty or make the effect much stronger. Or my favourite idea, which is to give it its own miniature version of biomass converter built into it, a weaker version, however. But it's supposed to be like it ramps up damage over time. But you end up, especially when you have like it takes away 100 ammo as well, and it's really slow actually building up that damage. It just feels terrible. It feels so bad. I wish it was. I mean, I like the shard factor, but it has overcomplicated because if the overclocks are too complicated were simpler, they'd be so much better. And those are the two ones I brought up. If feedback loop was just a balanced, bigger like AoE and more AoE damage with some other penalty, it would be really good. Actually, it would be great. But it's not. It's this dumb shit. And then we've got fucking this guy. It was the same comment about compact rounds, and he's this point about feedback loop. He just says feedback loop, instant crowd clear, Finn. That's just ridiculous. It's just not true. It's just wrong. If you want instant crowd clear, I guess the most instant crowd clear of the shard defector would be Plascrete Catalyst, but only instant once you actually detonate the platform. But yeah, how's feedback loop instant crowd clear compared to just building it for AoE with efficiency tweaks, with just ammo? It's not.
Yeah.
The effect takes so long to build up to a meaningful level of damage. It's not instant crowd clear at all. It's the opposite of instantaneous. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
Anyway. Feedback loop could be cool, but it isn't. But another one that is cool, but it's still kind of bad, is Overdrive Booster. Right? And I immediately acknowledge how this might be controversial. But I say that I ran the numbers, and you get more damage if you just build it for ammo. You get more direct damage. And I think Overdrive just needs to be simplified to just a massive damage bonus with ammo penalties. But then it also suggests a further weak point bonus as well, which should go hard into direct damage. People like it though because it's like a clean, where it's optional, right? But
yeah,
it's not worth using if you're not going to use it all the time. But if you use it all the time, you still don't actually get more damage if you than just taking ammo.
One of the comments is on that, and it's I can't tell if this is a pro or a con, like if he's like agreeing or disagreeing. The whole point is that it's a clean until you need that damage. Full stop. You might as well have a different overclock at that point.
Yes, you might as well. You're right.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's talking down on it.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, sometimes that damage is useful, but I don't think you ever need it, really. Especially when you take efficiency tweaks, you have a larger clip size and just a shit ton of damage overall. It comes across to me as really useless, and the only reason people use it is because they like how much damage it deals. But it's just like, oh no, all my ammo's gone. It's not good. I really don't think it's a good overclock, and it makes me sad. You know, it makes me sad. I don't really understand the point of liking it because it's like an option. Because if you just use something else, you would just have so much more ammo instead of using it as a clean, but then also sometimes using it as something that just sucks up all your ammo into in one, but doesn't actually produce more total damage than an actual clean. So don't use Overdrive Booster, people. It needs help.
Yeah.
Next one is actually the only one for the breach cutter that I could really say anything about. I'm not even sure if I really agree. Which is Return to Sender. I said it's just not bad, but I think they should change it so that it actually goes towards you, wherever you are, when you release the trigger.
So it returns to sender.
Yes. Obviously, it returns to sender if you stand still, obviously. but you're not always going to be standing still. And if it could
Or
actually,
walk backwards and
if it could
forwards.
actually reorient itself, then you could actually have like interesting uses for it.
Yeah.
Having it go at like a right angle, would be pretty funny if you wanted to. Like Waluigi's logo. Yeah, that's pretty simple, but I think. Go on.
So this one got a bit. It got a bit of.
Oh yeah. Oh, the next one is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Face metal de la face. Not terrible, but I don't like it. I sort of had this idea going around in my head for a while. I don't really know if it's what it needs, but I do like it. It would have its own stats effect that just gets immediately applied, and it's just like I don't know what it is when I think about it. But either way, we can ignore that if you want. But I still think face melting needs a little bit of help, just a tad.
People disagree.
I know they do.
People don't like it. Change. I don't. No. Face melter is incredibly fun as is, and this is actually the OP of the original poster of the thing.
Really?
He actively actively disagreed with
Found
you.
it.
Face melter is incredibly fun as is, and I don't think it needs a buff. That is if you build it for damage and ammo, and forget about sticky flames altogether. So if you build for damage and ammo,
you can do that.
I guess, yeah.
No, you can if you can.
Forget about sticky flames altogether, which you kind of got over that point.
Yeah, I wish it did forget about sticky flames. I wish it dropped sticky flames and gave me more damage.
Yeah, but and then again, that's what I mentioned. All of those main builds, they don't actually make the other stuff worse. Like face melter doesn't get rid of sticky flames. Sticky flames doesn't get rid of direct damage. It's kind of weird. How completely available you are, and none of them decrease your setting on fire ability. You can use all three at the same time no matter what build you're using, which is why I think you might supposed to. No matter what, you should be shooting through the enemy at the floor below them.
I think you are meant to do that. I think that's the
All
idea.
of the builds, in every single build of the flamethrower, that it would be the best way of doing it. So it's a bit weird.
Face melter is incredibly fun as is. I mean, that's not a very good point.
Is it that fun?
It's not. I don't think it is that fun. I don't see how face melter is fun. It's not. How is that more fun than normal flamethrower? How is that more fun than expecting to heat and just coating an entire horde in flames within seconds?
But that's basically what face melter is, except they all die immediately, right? And I feel like that's a base level fun of playing Deep Rock. Is killing a lot of enemies. It does. It fucking destroys grunts. Grunts never stood a chance, right? They evaporate in an instant of contact.
But I still think it's more efficient at killing grunts even when built for heat.
Yeah, obviously, because you were then using a lot more ammo for no good reason, right? Because it's dumb. It's dumb as fuck. It's just dumb. Face melter is dumb, and people that use it, I'm sorry, but are dumb, right? There is no good reason to use it other than it feels good, because that's it. It pretends to be good. It's oh look, I'm killing these grunts really quickly. That means I'm doing it efficiently and well, but you're not. You're not by any stretch of the imagination using it efficiently or well, right? It's just terrible, and you can't use it against any larger targets, even though that's basically what it should be spec'd for.
It's terrible against oppressors.
That is really what it should be for, right? Because sticking flames ain't doing much, fire ain't doing much. Face melter should be for bigger targets, and this is when you couldn't rely on the temperature shock and axes. Well, you could always rely on axes, but that's what face melter should be for: being able to kill big targets with the flamethrower without the requirement of axes or temperature shock. Which is why, arguably, it should be basically a normal flamethrower, and then and you might not like this, but maybe an overdrive booster type situation.
You're right.
It's a normal default flamethrower that you would use normally and defaultly to set things on fire, and a light sticky flame, normal base sticky flame. But then immense amounts of damage, and it will piss through your ammo, but it actually efficiently kills Praetorians.
That's
with
my
it.
idea.
Like it will. Is it?
Yeah, I thought it should have it should actually be an alternate firing mode where it just like it doesn't the Overclock doesn't inherently
Actually, your
sacrifice
idea
sticky
is
flames.
white flame, but
Well, yeah,
no,
apart from
yeah.
that, but it doesn't. It's an alternate firing mode. It doesn't. The Overclock
It's
doesn't
one or
inherently
the other, though.
sacrifice anything. But if you change the firing mode, you actually lose sticky flames and a lot of heat.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is it's one or the other. It's what they actually do want for face melter. What it is currently is a waste of both. It's not efficient against killing grunts. It's not anywhere close to efficient against killing anything. It's just not good or not the best choice for any
fine.
of those options.
I don't think it's actually bad, to be honest. But
no, it's not efficient though.
No, it's not.
It's you will have no ammo. Meanwhile, sticky flames and any other build would have been fine. But sticky flames, especially sticky flames, you could kill the same amount of enemies as Flea with like a clip that you would have an entire mag for. Like the face melter's total ammo would kill about as many as like a sticky flame clip, basically. Like it's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Dumb as hell. A face melter is dumb. But if they wanted to use it more against hordes of grunts, a constant stream of good damage, just make it that. Make it have a lot of ammo, make it have a bigger clip size, make it do actually I mean, I guess damage could stay the same. Just give it more ammo so it's more usable to just hold down the trigger. Right? But if you wanted it for Praetorians and Oppressors and Dreadnoughts, God forbid, they actually allow you to use the flames against the Dreadnought and maybe even the Caretaker, right? Have it switch to maybe a a white flame mode or a blue flame mode, because that's really it, right?
Blue flame.
Where maybe it will like half your distance, but it will maybe double if not triple your damage,
and the width
while also
even.
Maybe, but that's not really the point. It's supposed to be that this target you were looking at and shooting at right in front of you is dying at an incredible speed. That should really be the point of it. And it will also pistol you out. It will only do 3 times the damage, but takes 2 times the ammo at like an increased fire rate with half radius. And maybe it can't sticky flames in that mode. But generally, yeah. It would then be a normal, if nothing, spec'd into flamethrower, which is generally quite enough. Like, default flamethrower is solid. Like, it is fine. It will kill most things because of fire, sticky flames, and damage. Like, it'll do. And then, yeah, but when you can just decide, that's it. This Praetorian, this Oppressor, this fucking, I don't know, Nemesis, although good luck getting that close, Dreadnought, that thing dies now. That would be a pretty good thing for the flamethrower to have, I think.
Yeah.
And it's what face melter should either lean more towards or just, I don't know. That's what I think I would do with face melter. I'd split it into 2 different mods, to be honest with you, 2 different overclocks. One for a more sustained damage over time, one for a heavy burst damage.
Super hot.
That's what I'd do with face melter. And I would say that it is not incredibly fun as is. It is like default fun. Just deep rock fun. It is just killing lots of enemies quickly. That is like average amount of fun you have. But yeah, I think someone else brings it up.
No.
I think so. Maybe not. I'm looking. Doop. So far, it does not look like it. I guess only that guy who made the post disagreed with you. It's like, no, this is too far. Like, yeah.
But face melter is still quite popular.
Yeah, obviously.
So
I think it's definitely one of our most controversial takes.
Controversy. I love controversy.
It really is something that we fucking go for the throat of like some of the most popular guns. Like M1000 is the most popular scout primary, and that we have fucking got that on our sides. Boomstick, same thing, and flamethrower, right? And I'm not sure about all the others really because it starts blurring out. But like, yeah, I mean, fuck it out.
Weirdly enough, I think Boomstick is the only one that I can tolerate that opinion of.
Well, yeah, because I
can tolerate the flamethrower, kind of.
I just hate why people like the flamethrower. And I hate that people defend its worst parts. Like, the flamethrower could be so fucking cool if you stop defending its boring parts, right? Sticky flames, fine, leave it as is, but just stop making it an incredibly important part of the flamethrower. But, like, stop pretending that face melter is a nice, cool thing to use. It ain't. It's like just a less efficient way of existing with the flamethrower. And if we actually moved on and acknowledged the fact that sticky flames is the only real viable, efficient build with it, then we can actually start getting more interesting builds with it and more interesting overclocks for it. Like, God forbid, I swear to God, if they release new overclocks and there's another fucking sticky flames build for the fucking flamethrower, I will throw myself out of a window.
What would that even be?
Like, I don't know, the one that I came up with in the fucking overclock rush show.
What was that?
It was like where sticky flames would be in like a puddle, where it would be like a 3x3 cube of a sticky flame effect.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't like it either, but I don't know, I came up with it. But yeah, fuck sticky flames. But yeah, fuck face melter even more.
Nah,
yeah.
Fine, whatever. Fuck
Shut
flow
up.
rate expansion. Because the next two are ones that actually no one talked about, to be fair, because no one cares about them because they're not great. So we've got Cryo Cannon flow rate expansion, which you might know of this as the balanced one that adds nothing. Actually, what does it actually do? Increased play rate, very fast chain pressurization over short runtime for need to repressurize. So, in a lot of ways, I'd say it's pretty neutral, which is why it's just completely overshadowed by Tune Cooler.
Well, no, it ain't though. I mean, it is, but it ain't. Because wait, no, it might. I need to actually look because they're all the same words as far as I'm concerned. All right, Cryo Cannon. Let's have a look. Tune Cooler. All right, Tune Cooler is not really outclassed by flow rate expansion, and I'll tell you why. Tom is why. Because Tune Cooler, while being fucking amazing, and I love Tune Cooler, and its freezing is just amazing, that time to shoot is a pretty big negative.
All right,
which
hold on.
evaporates into smoke.
Flow rate expansion doesn't change anything about that, though. If it did, then I'd understand. That's one of my suggestions. It actually decreases the charge up time. But it doesn't.
I thought it did.
Tune Cooler increases it, yes. But that's so every other overclock has that positive over Tune Cooler. But the problem is, if you have at normal charge up time, the charge time upgrade brings it down to 0.1 seconds, which is why you can't have an overclock that decreases it, which is nonsense. It's annoying because that's what flow rate expansion should be able to do, to actually give it an edge. I think charge up time is probably the most important thing. I suggest that it could also change to like a balanced damage overclock that doesn't have that, but that wouldn't actually be particularly useful. If we actually had an overclock that decreased charge up time, then it would have place. And you know what? I think you could decrease the charge up time to less than 0.1 seconds. You know, why not 0.02 seconds?
Why not 0?
Why not no charge up time at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying about flow expansion. It doesn't actually have an edge over Tune Cooler. Especially because Tune Cooler increases flow rate. Fuck Tune Cooler.
No.
Hipster in the skies. Anyway, Overcharger, the EBC, which is the unstable one, which just supposed to make the charge shot a lot stronger. It's too weak. It's too weak. What I said about it. It's simply too weak. The only way to make something like that have a place, like to like high explosive as to a secondary, is if it's just really strong. So make it really strong. I do think the charge shot is interesting though, because the charge shot has a direct damage component as well, where it does its damage in an area, but also does that damage to directly to an enemy. But Overcharger doesn't actually make it particularly better in that regard. It's just overall not helping it in any way. It's not. It felt kind of cool to use, but it's not actually useful at all. It's too weak to be useful, and no one really clapped back on that, because why would they when the other unstable overclock for the EPC?
Fucking everyone came to persistent plasma's defense.
Yeah,
Jesus
which is why
Christ.
I used it. First of all, I mean, I used all of them because I was just doing that, but this was a specific one. Persistent plasma. I just said that maybe the charge projectile should have a trail with it, maybe. And I still think that might be a good idea. Either way, yeah, a lot of people came rushing to the defense of persistent plasma. Yeah, we got here equivalent Durian. Persistent plasma is already insanely good. Please no change. I don't know about insanely good, right?
No, because he was responding to the actual his thing. No links is persistent plasma is a like 35 plus 5.
Yeah, it's explaining what it is, and I know what it is. I looked into it and I found out that it actually has enough damage, like total, to kill a guard with one shot, but you don't often get that. It is spammable. It's the spammable part is actually what makes it work. You could just stack them on top of enemies. So why is it when you take flow rate expansion, the pressure gain rate adds 385%? Whatever.
I have no idea.
But yeah, I think someone else said something about distant plasma, right? Right?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Oh yeah. It's on the. That's Little Bobby again. Buffing the best overclock for this weapon feels a little silly. See, the thing is, I don't think I agree. I can see why people like persistent plasma, and I don't think it really needs a buff necessarily. So.
And why'd you put it there, Harry? You silly willy.
I was trying really hard. That's why I was tryharding to get all of these things out. Yeah, I'd already had overcharges in there, so I didn't really need another one. I just hadn't really used persistent plasma, I'll admit. All right. That's actually out of lack of experience. I think it's actually pretty decent. It's the other way of using the UPC, I think.
Yeah.
Or it's one of the other ways, as in, there's reasons to use that and heavy hitter. They're distinct from each other. So, have fun with persistent plasma. I did. It's actually pretty good. What isn't pretty good, but also might be pretty good, but it's also just kind of weird, is diffusion ray for the wave cooker, which is the balanced one that I assume no one uses. It's the one that adds penetration and more slowdown, and I just think it's kind of redundant, really. I mean, the slowdown. I think the one that's on the wave cooker is already like that you can give it the upgrade. Is it's 50%, so it's not massive, but it still feels weird that it exists. Where it's like it's already a weapon that can hit multiple enemies at the same time, and it already has a slowdown mod, and you also pair it with driller primaries anyway. I mean, 2 of which incur quite powerful slowdowns.
I would argue that it basically that's the point, that it basically turns the wave cooker into a primary. Yeah, you are hitting a lot of enemies and doing a lot of slowdown. Yeah. So.
What? You know what? I'm actually gonna try it. This is one where I just couldn't see the point of it, and also there's my suggestions is actually just would just be another overclock, right? Because one of us came up with where it'd be an overclock that increases lens width and deals more damage for each enemy being hit. That's something else. That should be a new overclock. But diffusion ray, I think I need to try it. It's just that I cannot see how it can be useful.
It's not useless.
No, its role is. It fills its role, but I don't think its role is useful on driller.
It just makes the wave cooker more of what it is.
Yeah, but more of what it is isn't. Well,
I think it's basically. I think both of the balanced really leans on the tier 5s. I think that's something that needs to be, because both of them, like obviously, mega power supply just gives you a lot more ammo and fire rate. Therefore, whenever it does it quicker. And diffusion ray means you would do it to a lot more enemies at the same time, and the minus damage wouldn't really have much of an effect.
But that part is actually redundant, though. The thing is, it might not be with Boiler Ray, and that's what I want to try. But the problem is, Boiler Ray relies on killing things directly with it, and when you're reducing your damage, that is a bit scary. Something I don't really want to do. But yeah, for the others, like Contagion Transmitter. Well, first of all, Contagion Transmitter alone is redundant against like groups of enemies, even on Hazard 5. Contagion Transmitter is for dealing the bonus damage, and for stacking effects on single targets. And be able to do that to multiple. No, because it decreases damage.
No, but
yeah, decreases damage.
But the contagion transmitter would equal it out because it spreads neurotoxin in an area. So the enemies you would be piercing to, not guaranteed, admittedly, but if they're all clubbed together, likely you will be hitting 3 enemies all with neurotoxin on them, because it would have spread.
But it only spreads from. Okay, I'm picturing quite a niche build, but because the thing is, most things will die if they've been corroded. So that's why Contagion Transmitter ends up being a bit useless against large groups. It's not the only time. Yeah, it's just a bit weird. I guess maybe you could like use the charge, like the sludge pump single shot on a guard, and use that to spread neurotoxin and just be more ammo efficient with the sludge pump. Maybe. I'm just not quite convinced, to be honest. But that possibly means I need to use it, which I haven't. I might just use Diffusion Ray once.
It is good at what it does, but I will agree that what it does is questionable. But I don't think the damage is anywhere close to worth talking about, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just think it's it's just weird that you kind of have to try to make it useful. You kind of have to play. You kind of have to force yourself to play in a certain way that makes it useful instead of just.
Is that not Overclocks?
No, I don't think so.
And also, as mentioned, diffusion rate is basically just using the base wave cooker, like with the mega power supply. Like, it's just what you would do now, you do better. Like, if you were to shoot into a horde of enemies, you now shoot a lot more enemies with that in that horde with this, and slow them down a lot more, while doing slightly less damage. But you also technically not, because if you're hitting 3 targets at once, you're doing 3 times the amount of overall damage with your shot. So losing 1 damage while actually tripling your overall is kind of worth it. I don't know. I don't find anything inherently wrong with Diffusion Ray.
No, I don't think I do either. I
don't think it's a pinnacle of the wave cooker, but I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it being there. It's a pretty bog standard overclock that some people will probably quite like for a weird specific reason.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm going to try and find that specific reason.
All right.
So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. For now, we still have things to go.
Not
that many.
No one commented on Diffusion Ray. I don't think anyone commented on electrocuting focus shots either. But yeah,
there actually was. I'll find
really. Well, my point about electrocuting focus shots, because we're on Scout now, it still feels antithetical to the weapon, which it does, and I know that sometimes overclocks do that, but the problem is it's not good.
Yeah,
and I think it should be reworked to use the taser bolt effect. It should still retain the Armor-1000's ability to be a heavy hitter, and that means you want to hit heavy hitters. And this is using hipster, in which case you shoot everything. But if you're not, you focus on certain things. And I feel like the electrically focused shots isn't adding what it's supposed to add, so we might as well just make it a weird way of doing direct damage, like what taser bolts are. You could. I don't know if you should use that effect necessarily, where you actually like join them up to make the taser, but it's just that powerful electrocution that can be applied to anything. Is what electrocuting focus shots deserves. It doesn't really make sense to not be that because it's not actually good at anything else. It's not. People are like, oh, take electrocuting focus shots and penetration, and it does things. No, it doesn't. It does not. It is bad. Do not use it. So I think it should be reworked to be more like taser bolts. You have because that sort of yeah, I noticed it's only really possible now, but it is possible now because of taser bolts. We have what I think electrocuting focus shots should be. So get on that. Anyway, I don't really care about it. But what's the guy? What did the guy say?
This is a guy that basically didn't really agree with you. But yeah, his single issue with it is that you need both tier 1 mods to make it feel good. Like you're only a few points of damage off from not needing to focus shot or web splitter. Might need a mod rework on the base gun.
Well, not needing to focus shot web splitter wouldn't have anything to do with electrocuting focus shots though, because it's only on the focus shots. And that's the thing, especially when it only does it on the focus shots, it just deserves to be better than bog standard electrocution.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
2 bits of ammo for that. I mean, come on. I mean, without having a lot of ammo since you're not using fucking, hipster, it's like shit now.
It does say might need to rework on the base gun. I wouldn't be surprised to go there. Is this gun increase the power level that Scout Primary needed to start with? I don't really know what all that means, but... What a loser.
Yeah. Yeah. Next one.
Oh god. Well, the next one is actually the only Drac one that I felt. Okay, so Drac shield battery booster. Thing is, I state it's actually better than you might think, and I think it is actually fine. It's still not what it should be. It was this perfect opportunity to do something really cool, and they didn't quite nail it. In that. And I know it might be because it's actually it's possible that it's actually too complicated to do easily, but I always saw it as this should be something that works better with your shield rather than just outright relying on it. And it should be the damage and velocity that you gain should be based on where your shield is at. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be just either on or off. That's what makes it feel bad. Even though it's not actually a bad overclock. It's just missing the mechanic that it should have. As in, I don't think it should have like a base bonus to ammo and fire rate. I think you should get rid of that and make it so it... In fact, you can make that its own overclock. And instead it should be damage velocity proportional to your shield. That will make Shield Battery Booster genuinely valuable on its own. Because it's mostly made valuable by it being essentially a clean with an occasional massive damage boost, which is fine, but it could be a lot cooler if you split it and make the shield battery booster part of it what it should be. So, that's my position on shield battery booster.
I don't think anyone commented on it at all.
No, no. I mean, I don't see anyone disagree.
No.
Really? Other than that, I do think it is actually fine as it is. It just it's fine as it is, but they still need to do stuff with it, which is weird. But I'm pretty comfortable with that. Double barrel, double barrel for the boomstick. Everyone, it probably quite infamous now as being the dumbest overclock ever made. I'd say it should probably just be removed. But also I don't know what to do with it. But I just say if they can rework it into something good that still uses the same mechanic, then that would be great. I'm actually just saying I wish it was better. So that doesn't really help anyone, does it?
Yeah, it means the double barrel.
Someone says if they gave it 50% more ammo, I could probably get behind it. Yeah, you probably could.
Yeah,
But that would
Doubling
be
your ammo for no real negative
that's
would
not
be pretty
doubling.
solid.
That's not what 50% is, Tyler.
Shut up.
That's adding half of what you've got on top.
Then it's not good. Shut up.
You glumblo.
Shut up.
You globally.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Shut up. Yeah, no one's going to argue that the double barrel needs help.
Yeah.
Or it could have been left in the game as a joke.
Because Lazy maybe made fun of it, therefore everyone knows.
Yeah.
It really though, it comes down to that, right? Yeah. If he says something is good or bad, that's it. That is it. That is the general consensus for the entire community.
Front Rider says that double barrel needs a rework. It's a worse version of the double trigger mod. It's also a worse version of the Stuff Shell's overclock. I don't think it would make sense even if the reload speed bug on this slot of the gun was fixed. I wonder where he found out about that from.
Yeah.
Lazy, maybe.
Yeah.
He might be lazy, but he is maybe.
Yeah.
The next two are ones that I just had to put something for Zukovs, and I kind of think maybe something could be done with both of them, even though Fire Mines is definitely good. But the only reason I suggest what I suggest, in that maybe you should put mines on enemies, is because neither Cryominets nor Cryobolts are good against Mactera. And I just wish one of them was. So that's it. I don't even know if Cryominets really needs anything. Gas recycling, though, I am kind of on board with. Like, I think it is good, maybe, and it's definitely gotten a lot of attention over time. They've actually buffed it multiple times over the last couple updates, even. But for me, something is still off, and I think it's probably mainly the accuracy. Actually, I think it might just be the accuracy. I still think completely taking away. I think people still don't realize how much damage you lose when you take away weak point bonuses. So, and it just strikes me as somewhat odd. I don't like it, but it might be better than I think. But I don't think just giving it a little extra something, probably the accuracy more than anything, because the accuracy penalty is pretty ridiculous. That might save it for me. Also, I don't think it's particularly popular, so
the guy that agrees with you most of the time couldn't agree with you with the Zukovs ones. He thinks they're both fine.
Yeah, but then he says when you ask for a buffer enough, you can't make it something completely different on the spot. I'd rather have on that spot. I'd rather have both. I don't really know what that means.
I think that might just be generally, not just on the Zukovs.
Yeah,
which might be his final statement.
Some of them were a bit like that, I admit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was all of that. But we're going to go through any comments we haven't quite touched on. As in,
there's only a couple.
Liver Porub wishes that plasma bursters were more of a top shelf option. They main it though, and have made it work, but it's very weak in close quarters when the enemy's up against a wall, which is a lot of the time, by the way. Those two things are quite common. Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned that. It needs more maneuverability. It's actually very maneuverable. It just doesn't work. Grobe thinks explosive chemical rounds
that's
for the...
not even... What? This is not your one.
That's true, actually. That's true. Thank you.
Well, I want to do those, but I want to get all your ones out of the way. And there's only a couple left, really. Hipster and neurotoxin payload suggestions are legit.
Which is, by the way, that's just the two nerfs. Apparently, everything else is me trying too hard.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it on that one.
It's called the boss, though.
Yeah, and then on your own post, I think, it's some guy. Probably better to put a lot of thought into just one suggestion rather than no thought into 20 of them.
Well, that would be plasma bursters, I guess. But I can't bother to talk about plasma bursters a lot. I don't know exactly what to do with it, because I think it's broken mechanically, in that a lot of the suggestions sort of come down to it should probably go through terrain, but it's just wait a minute, but if it goes through terrain, then it goes through terrain. That might be broken, but it needs to go through terrain so it doesn't get stopped by terrain when you're trying to just hit grunts on the ground.
Yeah, but that's where the skill is supposed to reside, but it's not worth the skill. I think they may have set the skill requirement far too high, and also not thought about how unpredictable the game is, and that you can't really make things not be against the walls or stuff like that. Like, it's not often that you can put something in the right place for plasma bursters to be useful. So it has moments where it's skill, but most of the time it's just luck. And even then, it's not inherently worth it.
No.
So yeah, it's got a lot of issues.
So it's not like I put no thought into this. I thought about it. I thought about it.
It's fine. He's just jealous. But yeah, that's basically all of them. Your comments. Yeah.
Wow.
Happy?
Happy with what?
Happy with your comments?
No.
No,
I'm not.
You basically you got like Front Rider, the engineer that generally agrees with you.
I like him. I still find pretty much every instance of people disagreeing with me somewhat concerning.
I think you could erase some people assuming that you were dumb and had no idea what you were talking about by just
I don't feel good slapping my level on a post. It's like I'm better than all of you.
You'll get comments saying this guy clearly doesn't play on Has 5, or this guy clearly is like new to the game or has never used this overclock, right? Like, if you just start with saying, I'm this level, I play level 5s all the time, I've used all the overclocks at least 5 times each, or some shit like that, right? Like just for this post, like some shit like that. Like, the fuck can they say that you're not like at least qualified to voice your opinion, right? They can't use your dumbass against you like that, or
no,
you just,
but I find it kind of funny when they
you
do.
don't know. Yeah, but it just means that they don't then have to make actually a valid argument back to you. They can just say that and then have a good, just move on. They'll just completely just say, yep, you're not qualified to have these opinions, and then move on with their lives. Meanwhile, if you say that I am qualified, more qualified than you, and this is what I think, it might call into question their thoughts, if they're capable of that. But they likely are. Since, as Tom likes to bitch and moan about, no one has thought nowadays. No one can come to their own consensus.
Except me. I'm
sure.
good at it. I have opinions of my own. But yeah,
wrong ones. Yeah.
It was an interesting original post actually. And actually I think most of I think it got 68 comments in total. And you're just asking what overclocks did you argue need a bus / nerf search rework. And there's a lot of stuff. You know, I don't want to really go through all of this, but you got right from the top, because this is kind of like a Reddit review. Now,
well, it's been a while, so if you miss those, which I assume people do, I think people quite like them. But
I don't know. You got things like let plasma burster missiles explode for reduced AoE damage on impact of terrain. I think it's because they just dissipate when they hit terrain. So if they could at least actually explode with some... I think they should have a better explosion like at the end of their lifetime or something, and that might help that. They should sort of go out with a little bit of a bang. Like a little bit. But that means when they just get stopped by terrain, it doesn't mean you're just completely... You just lose.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's comically bad. It is kind of comically bad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of double barrel, actually.
Double barrel.
It's got to just rework most of the breach cutter. They're kind of lackluster for the most part, and all of them remove half of the ammo, almost. That's only one of them removes half the ammo. And one of them removes a bit of ammo. Only 2 of them actually remove ammo. You idiot.
Yeah.
You fool! But yeah, everyone thinks the best overclock is the more ammo one. I'm starting to disagree with that.
I think it really just comes down to that this guy puts it not in the right way, but amazing gun, dogshit overclocks. In that it is just so inherently strong on its own that ammo is enough. Like, most of the time for most gun, just giving it ammo isn't quite it reaching its potential. But
there's some things that it isn't quite good enough at for me. Like, I don't like that. You can make it so that guards aren't left behind. So you don't have to use 2 shots to kill guards every time. And I prefer that to just having more ammo. I don't know, man. There are things that you could. It's not like it's too weak, obviously, but there's still ways you can make it better outside of just giving it more ammo. I think most of the overclocks have a place. These people are dumbasses.
Yeah. And then they started calling it into question compared to the other ones, which I can't quite gather what they're going for there. But yeah. Oh, there's some deleted ones.
Think about dementia.
Yeah. God knows what those were.
Oh,
The breach cutter, the best weapon in the game.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where we were convinced of that. Back when, in all fairness, before it got heavily nerfed, right? When it was undeniably broken. But it kind of still lingers in my mind, just the breach cutter being the strongest. Like, there's just a part of me that still believes that.
Yeah, it's not, but oh, this guy gets it though. Chef Mingus. Is the only weapons worth using a stronger plasma current and Inferno and Spinning Death? I think Return to Sender and Roll Control are also worth using sometimes, but yeah, Inferno is probably the best, and Spinning Death is pretty good. And stronger plasma current. Brilliant.
Yeah. A point system for assemble your own overclocks would rule. That ain't relevant. That ain't relevant. fuck, what?
I mean, that would be the perfect way of just doing all the basic overclocks, though.
Yeah, but like it would also mean that
you could just bundle it all into one, basically.
Because you would only ever be able to make the most basic overclocks though with that system.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you could maybe you could have certain things like ricochet and penetration and all the status effects, but you couldn't. What couldn't you make with a system? I guess if it's a point system, if it's not literally an overclock maker, if it's based on
anything with an alternate firing mode or changes how the gun shoots, that mainly, that entirely, anything that makes any actual change to the weapon as a whole, you wouldn't be able to make with that. Which things wouldn't be a bad thing, because it would then basically mean that we'd have all of the simple ones available, while also Ghost Ship would then be able to add the funkier ones themselves. However, obviously that system is inherently flawed, since I don't think they'd want you putting like neurotoxin on the minigun shots, or some shit.
I want to do that.
Or like cryo on the fucking minigun, and basically anything on the minigun most of the time. But yeah, just I don't know.
Minigun. Explosive chemical rounds on the minigun.
Yeah, I don't think people.
Speaking of explosive chemical rounds, if we find our good friend Groob, they really think the explosive chemical rounds for the smart rifle needs to be nerfed. Wrong.
The thing is he is, but also isn't, right?
It really isn't overpowered.
I mean, it's only not overpowered because of the base gun is so fucking terrible, right? But it's actually really strong. But obviously it's not because it's terrible. But like, if the Loki was good, explosive chemical rounds would be like proper fucking good, right? Like it's a hella swarm murderer. If only not because it's inconvenient as hell to select a certain enemy 3 times with the thing, because it would start trying to select like all of them.
Well, that's why you use macro length with it, but even then, I find it gets spread out a bit too much, and then I end up not creating as many explosions as I want to. I think maybe what they're getting at is that actually, because if you've got 3 locks on an enemy, but it would still die in one shot, you only use the 1 bullet, but it would still apply, like you'd still get the explosion. So that might be what they're saying when it's just too powerful once you learn to use it right. They might be talking about like sort of getting enemies, like groups of enemies low with like your secondary, and then using that so you actually have a lot more explosions than you think. Either way, I don't think it's crazy good. And this guy's just like, yeah, it should be reworked. So, supposed to chemical and execution are brought down a bit, and the other build's base gun brought up. If you bring those 2 down and bring the others up, they will become terrible. The other stuff needs to be brought up, I agree, but those 2 do not need to be brought down. Oh, actually, it's mainly the base gun that needs to be brought up, and then obviously Nero Lasso. Yeah.
Obviously, Nero Lasso.
And then maybe up the number of locks needed on a single enemy for explosive chemical rounds. Obviously, actually, that guy, I think, got downvoted a little bit, so. Yeah. What's this then?
Incredible. As always, then a community is asked for balance changes. Everyone is pulling out the most dog shit takes.
I think some of these are fine. Well, it's mostly double barrel, but
Yeah.
like this guy, make
barrel.
double barrel shoot in one blast instead of two very quick ones. Maybe a damage or pellet boost as well to hit certain breakpoints. Well, it does have a damage boost, but I mean, the problem is if it's just half ammo for double damage. I mean, it's kind of
another positive is I think the fact that that guy says that implies that like there are probably a lot of people that will shit on double barrel that they've never used it. They just hear that double barrel is terrible, which, in all fairness, is me as well. I don't think I've ever used it, but that's not saying much. I don't really use the boomstick, but
well, this guy's got making money moves. He's got ideas. Oh, look who it is!
Yeah, Sir Pounds the French. I see that like always now. He always catches my eye. I've got a fucking eye on him. For the reworks, all change hit and homebrew powder overclocks. Because he wants a less fun game. He wants a more predictable, more boring ass fucking experience.
It's also shifting things that I think the next one's he says reworks, but roll control, identical unit exhaust vectoring. Exhaust vectoring's good. First of all, composite drums are very good, but he's right that they are actually all fairly boring. Except shield battery booster, I think. He's not actually wrong on those sort of being in sort of the lower end of things. The lack of mention of plasma bursters is somewhat concerning. But yeah, I mean that's good. That's actually not a bad selection. If there's like a rework was the big point of an update, that would be a pretty decent selection to go for. I'd sort of chop some stuff out, probably composite drums, exhaust vectoring, and roll control, but from that. But the thing is about the chain hit. I think I actually agree with him on chain hit.
Or everything that chain hits in the game,
I don't know, make it better.
Well, that's what he's asking for. All chain hits. So anything that chains.
I think it means all the chain hit, the ones that are called that, of which there are two.
I think we just chain hit. I guess homebrew powder.
Yeah, I think it's the name because bullet hell isn't a chain hit, but pretty similar. But chain hit is like it's a 75% chance when you hit a weak point. It should either be not weak point or not 100%, or it should be not weak point or it should be 100%. Especially the bulldog one. Yeah, apart from that. But Nerfy wants to see is RG250. RG250 is really weird. I don't think I want it to be nerfed. I just think I want the other ones to be more interesting. To be honest, on the PGL, I'd rather that. Neurotoxin payload and beds destiny because I think these are actually fair nerf suggestions in general. Like, they're some of the more agreeable ones.
Yeah.
Actually, okay. So when it comes to the ones he suggested for rework, that wasn't necessarily buffs because the only one that he thinks is deserving of a buff is plasma burster missiles, not plasma missile burster. Yeah. Also, I wouldn't say that Hellfire is tied to the gun itself. I guess it is, but not more than Overclock. Oh boy, they're having an argument about RG250, and the front rider joins in. Nerf RG250, how and why? Apparently, it's straight up superior to all the others that are similar, making them pointless. When it comes to using it at like the best you can, I agree. Buff the other two ammo clocks instead. RG250 used to be completely pointless overclock. I'd rather not lose it. That's fair. It was not pointless. It just needed more ammo so you could jump more. They buffed the damage for some reason. Buffed it just enough to not remove the secondary, in my opinion. It can barely kill a pack of grunts with the fire. Well, it does. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it barely kills them, but it does kill them.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, like I said, I don't know about buffing the other two ammo mods. I think I'd rather they would just make something else. But I guess it doesn't make sense if you don't have any actual dedicated ammo overclocks. Either way, PGL could do some more interesting overclocks that aren't extreme, you know.
I'm sorry, but the PGL has some of the best selection of the most interesting overclocks. Hyper-propellant, Fat Boy, and RJ250 Compound are some of the widest, funky overclocks in the game.
Yeah, it could just do with some viable stuff that isn't that ridiculous. But yeah, Plasma Burst, the Sir Pounce. See, he's right about that. His main problem with Plasma Burst is that they're then breaking on terrain. Front Rider took a stab at this as
wouldn't
well.
it just be that they need sharper turns? So that literally they don't like leave the inside of the enemy, so they won't even touch the floor.
But a lot of that comes down to where you're looking as well, which can change drastically in a moment, and their positioning can change also depending on the terrain. You might suddenly be going on incline or decline, or if you're backing away, you might back up into a wall, you might fall down a hole, all sorts of things.
Isn't that like normal though? Isn't that like playing the game that you might back up and fall into a hole? What the fuck has that got to do with it?
Yeah, but when you're like you're relying on your damage, like you have to still be in control of what you're doing after you stop firing. You know? And suddenly if you lose control, like if you fall down a pit, like, obviously that can happen, but you're going to waste a bunch of damage if you have to take your attention away. Unlike with literally every other weapon where you just stop firing. And you're no longer doing damage because you're not firing. But Plasma Buster missiles require more attention and they're not worth the attention. So I like this guy. I went down a little bit. Equivalent Durian. Like a clean version of AI stability engine that is only weak point damage and maybe not as much. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either. Be pretty strong now, doing the way it is. And then Elite Snackist says rework / buff some of the OCs for the shard diffractor. Many of them require you to dump ammo to targets to use up ammo, stopping the beam from firing, which is counterproductive for either option. Some that can make ones like shooting platforms don't work very well, even in my opinion. Yeah, the shard diffractor's actually got some issues, I think, with its overclocks. Could do with a bit of love. Oh, got someone else with explosive chemical rounds needing a nerf. What's going on here? What am I missing?
Explosive chemical rounds. What one is that?
Smart rifle.
Oh, right.
Doesn't need a nerf, man.
Well, it's because, right, if you're dumb, look at it this way. Explosive chemical rounds is like the best thing to use for the Loki, right? And normally with other weapons, if something's the best thing for you to use, it's really strong and that should be nerfed. And if you can't tell the difference, or if you believe the Loki is strong, then explosive chemical rounds would need a nerf, right? If you are under the opinion that the Loki is like Thunderhead tier, right, and is strong, and its best thing is really strong, then you would think it would need nerfing. That's what they're saying, really, is that they think the Loki is actually good, even without explosive chemical rounds, or explosive chemical rounds is too strong for the Loki, and it's like carrying it or some shit. I don't know. Either way, well, that second one is true.
Yeah, but I got this guy, my boy, Ungodly Gamer, says Overdrive Booster definitely needs to be buffed. Yeah. And then Front Rider comes in saying that it's a clean, sporting as an unstable, and I explained why this is a problem. It's not like salvo module. There's something wrong with Overdrive Booster.
Front Rider was the engineer from earlier, the one that I thought was was agreeing with you that Overdrive Booster was bad, but no, he thinks it's good.
Yeah, he says literally one of the best overclocks in Diffractor. You can get boosted damage and basically no downsides whatsoever. The downsides aren't on Overdrive Booster. The downsides come when you look at efficiency tweaks and also just not using an overclock. Actually, no. Not using Overclock is probably worse than using Overdrive Booster, but efficiency tweaks just blows it out for water. The downsides are that you are missing out on a lot of total damage by using it. And yes, the problem is you can't move. Well, I don't know why it's just the problem is that one of the penalties doesn't actually work. Apparently, he also doesn't see a difference with damage. I get the feeling he might not actually know how boosting works, but either way, he's still right that it needs to be buffed.
I think he's doing what I'm doing. I don't think he knows it's an alternate firing mode. Because I did the same thing.
Well, I don't think it should be. I don't like that it's trying to be a clean. I think it should just be straightforward unstable, and it annoys me that they weren't willing to be straightforward with it. Because it would be better if it was.
Well, let's be realistic. With the way the gun originally was going to be, it would have been, right?
Yeah, Overload Booster probably would have been really good, actually, if the shard detector was as bad as it was when it was originally conceived.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been because how it is you switch it to the drains all your ammo, right? Mode. Like you can't stop shooting when you go into overdrive, can you?
But there was a time when it was like that anyway.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think then it was probably the overdrive booster was just how it was. You would just every time you'd shoot, it would be a gigafuck amount of damage.
Well, no. Automated beam controller is like the one that basically makes it how it used to be. But overdrive booster, I guess, because it still makes you consume more ammo, and it's supposed to stop it from moving.
When it was that, overdrive booster probably worked that way. It was just.
I think you still had to activate it. I think I remember. I think you still have to activate it manually. Yeah, after you start firing.
God, they're so fucking overcomplicated. It's so annoying.
We got done a little bit. We got Possum Soul. Actually, just throws out a bunch of really good ideas and gets downvoted for it. Such as the ammo penalty for super cooling chamber being cut in half. Well, that would be helped if they did the hipster thing. Gas recycling increased base spread needs to be removed. I mean, I think it needs to be lessened. I think it shouldn't have such a big spread penalty. And he's actually kind of right about embedded detonators being good at better at crowd clearing because
yeah, they are. That's what I use them for.
Crowd and pretty much all the grunts will just go down. Shaped shells needs to decrease spread even more. It's hardly noticeable. I wouldn't say it's hardly noticeable, but shaped shells could still be buffed to make it compete with jumbo shells. And double barrel needs a straight buff as well. And the Warthog just needs more overclocks. It only has 5, still pretty boring. Needs a gimmick overclock. That is correct.
It's bad just spitting facts.
Any weapon that only has 5 overclocks needs more. And by the way, the only ones that only have 5 overclocks is the Zhukovs and the Warthog. So, and they are pretty boring. I'll be honest. Yeah, the Warthog could really do with a gimmick.
A solid amount of gimmicky ones, considering like 2 of them, right?
It's really 2 of them. And this guy's like, oh no, I guess cycling or the looks like the ammo economy is way better for swarms. They do a lot of damage against frozen enemies, but the only way to do that on your own is with just the cryo grenades, and that's not. Yeah.
Which IFG use electrify is not bad either, and plus then you can if you use electric instead of. I mean,
before the buff, that was a bit dubious because I think that's why they gave gas recycling armor breaking, so it could almost be that. As if they're frozen, but they're not frozen. You can hit them anywhere and do a lot of damage. That was always the point of gas recycling, but it wasn't that. It wasn't doing that properly until they gave it armor breaking, I think.
Possum Soul comes back with the fucking most obvious comeback ever. It's just like, yeah, if you're going against a frozen enemy, of course it's going to be fucking going. It's like, yeah, you know what I mean? You fucking hell. Also, so they still do gain the 3 times then, even though they don't gain weak point bonus.
Yeah, because Tyler, yes. Hold on.
What?
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. They don't get weak point bonus.
Yeah.
Why would they get fire bonus?
Fire rate? What?
Why would they get cryo bonus?
Because they deal direct damage still.
And? If the point of them is they don't don't worry about it. Shut up.
The point of scatter strike means that they can deal a good amount of damage anywhere on an enemy's body. And cryo's and also you can't actually reliably freeze enemies with the primaries. I wish there was something you could do that with, actually. The Drek had something like that. That'd be pretty good. Anyway. Oh god, this guy's talking about the water having amazing overclocks. Yeah, but it doesn't have any like cool ones. Come on, man.
So they're all boring, yeah.
You have damage and you ammo, it's electric read mode. Yeah, he's got it. Okay, this is a whole ass thing. That's a whole debate. We might just have to. Okay, I don't.
That is a huge ass take.
I mean, it's like the last thing, actually. In sort of the whole thread, but still. And this guy actually got downvoted a little bit, so it's actually sort of flipping between the two. So who's like the enemy? Oh god.
The audience is fickle.
I mean, what?
Fickle.
Either way, good lord. What a load of hullabaloo. Good Jesus. That's enough of that. I think that's enough of that.
Give Levstorm the ability of flight by pushing you in the opposite direction if you're in the air. Perfectly balanced, trust me.
Yes.
I wonder who came up with a stupid fucking idea like that. That's it. Obviously, we did a little bit more than just Harry's post, but point is that no one can fucking agree on anything except double barrel. Everyone thinks double barrel needs to be.
Apparently, no one can even agree that every weapon should have some gimmicky overclocks.
Yeah.
Which is kind of insane, because I think that's like one of the baseline things. There should be actually a balance, I think, of standard overclocks and gimmicky ones. And technically, the PGL has that. It's actually equal. But the thing is, the not gimmicky ones aren't really worth using.
Yeah. But yeah, that was something. Actually, I've got something. I did the M1000 poll. I haven't actually seen the results. I haven't refreshed it. So we'll quickly do that. It's a little reward. I don't know how much it would have gotten by the end. All right, 112 votes. Who do you think won?
Look.
I'll
vote. Let's find Tyler's poll, guys.
2 hours ago now, so it might be a bit lower down.
Best M1000 overclock, but you wrote M100.
Oh right.
So I know what the best one is, but I'm going to vote for my favourite, which is Hipster. No, I think it's probably Active Stability System. Let's see. Well, yeah, it's Hipster. Obviously.
Right. First of all, yeah. I mean, yeah. Hipster by a solid amount. Then Hoverclock, which, considering that doesn't actually benefit you in any real physical way. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just something with scout players. Like they see maneuverability as like being equal to actually doing more damage, which is fair. But also, as a driller main, dumbasses kill things, losers. And then supercooling chamber, active stability system, electrocuted focus shots, and then minimal clips. Poor minimal clips.
Minimal clips isn't going to get anywhere. At least the active stability system isn't completely overlooked.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not great. I mean, it is good actually. It's good. It's very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Did you do another one? Did you do the Gunner one?
No,
fair enough. Don't worry. Need to.
Yeah, and the comments says Hoverclock is based, but not the best.
I agree with that.
Doesn't have all the overclocks, which we'll just gonna ignore that.
What? What?
Saying it doesn't have all the overclocks. It's saying I don't have all the overclocks.
He doesn't. Right. Guy doesn't have all the overclocks.
Right.
What a loser.
the best overclock is blah 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 blah. I'm assuming that's hipster. That's the sound that hipster
Yeah, that
makes.
sounds quite hipstery.
And then someone asked this, which I disagree with this anyway. I don't think there should be a see results option, because fuck that. People are going to be picking that over the actual answer they would put, because they don't know. Shut the fuck up. But also, you can only put 6 options, so I couldn't put a see results if I wanted to.
Oh.
So yeah.
What it means that when of the weapons that have 7 overclocks, you can't actually do it properly.
No. What are those weapons?
Minigun. Burt. Hurricane. So this.
Real Gunner.
Yeah, I think that's actually.
They fucking love Gunner. I'm sorry, but like Gunner is such a well fucking made character. Like they get
GK2 is 7. So does the Drac. Good lord.
A lot of them have 7 then. Yeah. Either way,
Breach cutter.
Yeah. Maybe we'll give you a bit more update on that tomorrow in the stream.
You can sort of leave some out, you know. You could like breach cutter. You could leave out lightweight cases. Minigun. You could leave out bullet hell. Hurricane. Well, you would leave out manual guidance cutoff, I guess, if you had to.
You'd need that in there.
I think you should, but I don't know what you would include. But you just have to pick one, probably full chamber seal. For being honest.
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening and watching. I guess this time around.
This is a watcher.
Yeah.
You better
unlike The Witcher, who no one was watching.
People watch The Witcher. They won't after the next season, though.
I think my granddad watched Witcher.
The Mixture. The Witcher mixture. They do drink a mixture and turn them into witches.
Oh.
Like a potion. It's like they just have their blood like converted into Witcher blood. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time on Cowboy Bebop.
Fuck you.
Bringing that back. It's called a callback time. It's a staple of comedy. You know, I think it's really cool. I didn't have to go to the toilet during that.
It's impressive, man.
Thanks. Anyway, if you did enjoy that, please make sure to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hate
Cowboy Bebop.
I hate